Hey, look, kids, there's Big Ben. There's a podcast. Again. He's going in circles. He keeps having to point out
he's in the roundabout
podcast. Here's the thing. This movie has a great kind of golden age of poster tagline, but there was no way to do justice to it without using the exact words they use. So I want to just read the tagline.
Go ahead.
We love a good multi-sentence tagline.
I mean, I saw it and I was just like, this tagline is appropriate. It describes the film. It's not that funny.
For over 2,000 years, Europe has survived many great disasters. Now for the real test, Chevy Chase and his family are coming from America.
Oh.
I mean, you know, just
and using
electrify.
Chevy and not Clark Griswold is of the time, too.
I do think that's a little rude.
We noticed this as well on, spoiler alert, next week's episode.
Next
Look
week's
Who's
episode
Talking.
was about Look Who's Talking.
That poster similarly has a tagline that name checks Travolta and Kirstie Alley rather than putting them above the title as like star billing. Not characters, but it's like this was an era of like
this is weirder because don't you think
it's much weirder.
Isn't Clark Griswold
He's established as well. He's
totally.
But you know what? The tagline for the first vacation is every summer Chevy Chase takes his family on a little trip. This year he went too far. So they're going with the same format.
And the poster's very similar, let's say. It's a flipped mirror image of him in a sort of Conan the Barbarian.
Right, him in the
Frazetta style.
Familiar.
Yes.
Oh, you mean my Frank Frazetta calendar that I have actually have?
Do you really?
Yes, of
Perfect.
course.
Which
Perfect.
they abandon it for Christmas Vacation. They abandon the
it's still a poster, but it's him being electrocuted.
Yeah,
it's still a painting.
It's
I
a
was gonna
famous
say.
I can close my eyes and see all four, even Vegas.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Vegas is kind of riffing on the Christmas one where he's in a similar kind of exposition, right?
A Christ pose,
Yes.
in a way.
But on the roulette?
On
wheel?
a roulette.
Yeah.
And to me, actually, the Vegas Vacation poster is iconic because it looks so exciting.
It does. It looks
you know,
thrilling.
you're like, my God, what is this? He's in Vegas. He's
And
doing this.
and
There's money
yet-
everywhere.
And yet you're like, there's something missing. There's some weird absence. What's the void on this poster? Oh, National Lampoon has removed their name from this movie
Yeah, they sure
in
did.
like 1998?
7.
That's a rough year for National Lampoon to be starting to go like, we actually don't think this is up to our standards.
Fuck.
This might damage. No, I agree with you. Like in a modern era, right? If like the first Vacation's a hit, which it was, and you're making Vacation 2, the tagline would be, now for the real test, the Griswolds are coming from America. And then right below that, Chevy Chase in the biggest fucking letters you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're flexing like, you now know both the name of our star and the name of the fictional family.
Right. And the Griswolds is like, they say that
deceptive.
shit. They say it so much.
They're not the Johnsons, right?
Right,
Like they get to be like, we are the definitive Griswolds in cinema history.
Right.
There's no mistaking them. The name is said
good name.
constantly.
It's a good name.
It is. I'm throwing it on the fucking poster.
Clark Griswold is a fucking
It's an
amazing name. Yeah.
It's a prize-winning name.
Chevy Chase is an insane name.
That's another thing. It's just like Chevy Chase for a fake movie star name.
When was the first time you drove through Maryland as a kid and saw that there was Chevy Chase, Maryland, and had a fucking
I definitely
meltdown?
had that realization.
Right.
And I was like,
Dad,
it's not
Chevy Chase. What the fuck is
it's
he
not named for him.
No.
Right?
No.
I know, Griff, I know it's not named for him.
I'm
But I
literally
mean, like, as a kid, I'm like, I know he was famous, but he wasn't getting
Was he
big
that big?
cities named after him.
And then
was
I was like, oh, was he named
Sure.
after the city? And I had
Right.
no fucking. And I was
I
just
think the answer is yes and no.
Well, the infamous
it's sort of a
thing,
joke, right?
he, at the peak of his like immediate rocket ship fame, right? Like 5 episodes into SNL.
His name is Cornelius Chase.
Cornelius Crane Chase.
Yes.
Like
Jesus.
the 4th, the 3rd? Doesn't he have got
I'm not seeing.
Is it Roman
I'm not
numerals?
seeing an addendum.
He's
That's a
from,
moneyed name. That's a
he is-
Plymouth Rock.
He's
name.
from
Yeah.
a real fucking Plymouth Rock, like ivory tower.
Right. His
First
grandfather
settlers
was
family.
Rear Admiral Miles
Yes.
Browning of the United States Navy.
Like his family is the exact parody, the worst version of what you think.
They call me the Rear Admiral, sweetheart.
He's nicknamed for his adoptive grandfather Cornelius, while the nickname Chevy was bestowed by his grandmother from the medieval English ballad, The Ballad of Chevy Chase, which is an English ballad from long ago.
So is the
and
town named
that
after
must
the ballad?
also- it must be.
I was going to say
That's fucking awesome.
season 1 of
I guess
SNL.
so.
The
He's
Ballad
blowing
of Chevy
up.
Chase, by the way, is the documentary about his downfall, and that's
Well,
for sure.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously.
that
Yes.
we are producing.
Yes, the affluent area in Maryland is indeed also
Okay.
named for this ballad. Okay.
Season 1 of the show when he's blowing up, and I think there's like a very early Time magazine cover that's like, this is the new face of comedy. And
Understandable.
Chevy Chase looking handsome as shit, wearing a t-shirt that says, yes, it's my real name.
Right.
And he was like, from the moment he got
and it
famous.
isn't, we learned.
Right. From the moment he got famous, he was playing this bit of like, I'm tired of answering this question. I know it's unbelievable, but yes, it's my real name, which he maintained for like 15 years,
Now,
which maybe tells us a lot about Chevy Chase.
But here's my question. So, as you may or may not know, a landmark decision of the Supreme Court in 1965 is called Griswold versus Connecticut, which protected the liberty of married people to use contraception.
Interesting.
It's a classic right to privacy about birth control, a liberal Supreme Court decision.
67, you said?
65.
65.
So are the Griswolds, is that a clever
think
John Hughesy joke,
100%.
right? About that.
That is
Yeah.
that is absolutely the
Has
kind of
to
thing
be,
Ramis
right?
and Hughes would do intentionally.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
I can't find, but I bet you that's true.
I think it has to be. Yeah.
Wow. We really covered a lot of ground about preppy, New Englandy or Northeastern shit.
Yeah.
Chevy Chase.
Imagine trying to talk about one of these vacation movies without getting into Chevy. Like it's
Oh, if we don't acknowledge him at all, we're like, yeah, the actor's good. I don't know. He seems to have a handle on the role.
We've talked Chevy a couple times on this
So we've
show.
talked about Chevy Chase. So what's the show and who's our
Well,
guest?
this is Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they bounce to Europe, baby. This is a mini-series on the
Traveler's
films. Traveler's checks. Sometimes traveler's checks clear. And sometimes they're actually part of some complicated heist involving a guy in a trunk.
Not the cleanest plot element of this film, I guess.
Well, Ben, if you want to just clip that, we can drop that in about 25 more times when we talk about this movie. Sure. Like, there's so many plot elements that are not the clearest.
I like that this movie just kind of feels like watching like 4 random Three Stooges shorts tied together.
That's yes.
Like, I've heard people throw this out as a complaint about this movie, and I actually think it's kind of the movie's secret sauce. Is like it just doesn't even care about every 20 minutes we're going to go to a different country and there'll be internal conflicts.
Right. Eric Idle will be our through line, and apart from that,
and Rusty being so fucking horny.
Who's our
It's a mini-series on the films of Amy Heckerling.
That's right.
Called Pod Times at Ridgemont Cast.
I love this.
Today we're talking about her third film. Meant as sort of a rebound move after the failure of Johnny Dangerously. Why don't I sign on to a big Hollywood sequel? This is can't miss proposition. But one could argue it actually kind of dinged her career further. I think it stuck to her where they were like, she's the person who fucked up the Vacation franchise. That was always the legacy I had heard.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, she made a terrible mistake, which was choosing to work with Chevy Chase for months.
Oops.
Something that always causes damage on people's psyches. Today we're talking about National Lampoon.
Jesus Christ.
National Lampoon's European Vacation.
That's right.
With our dear friend returning to the show. 6th time?
Holy shit.
Is that
Jon
right?
Gabrus. Let's count them off.
I believe so.
Sounds right.
Heat. Full Metal Jacket.
Ding.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Max. I forget which one.
Road Warrior.
Road Warrior.
Too Fast.
Too Fast and
Predator.
Wow, you've had a bit of a
murderous
lane with
film.
us. This is new for you.
But it's such vibes.
It's perfect.
It is
it's
vibes.
a perfect.
Yeah.
But you've
that
done
would be what
five.
that's what I'd grab from the Criterion closet. Those exact 5. Well, I wanted to give like a little front porch that so frequently, and we've had a couple of very long episodes together, and you guys are well, Griffin most of all is a length queen. We know he's constantly talking about how long his Doughboys episodes are, and then we get Adam Perry in here fucking letting it rip, you guys. Heat, of course you could talk about Heat for 4 hours.
Right.
Of course I could talk about Predator for
Justifiably long,
Yeah.
yes.
But this is the first time I ever felt like when, like, David's like, I have a heart out. I'm like, I think we'll be fine.
I think we'll be fine.
This is also one of the things where I'm like, I think if we'll see what happens, but if we went long on this, it still wouldn't be that long.
I
It's
agree.
just like,
Here's another thing that
there's
happened.
only so much here.
You asked to push back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
until a little
David-
later in the day. you
Right.
mean. Yeah,
David was like, I have a heart out. We're fine starting at 2 as long as we're done by this time, right?
Right.
And then you responded, need time to talk about breasts. And David responded, let's make it 1:30, actually. The one push was, we might need the extra half an hour if we're committing to
some
tit
boob
I mean,
chat.
10 minutes per rack.
It's one sequence.
So to follow Griff,
Yes.
we've discussed Fletch, obviously, a
Mhm.
choice by Ben. Benjamin Hosley, our producer.
Every
chose
once
this
in a
film,
while, the
Fletch.
dude shows up with good taste. It's nice.
100%.
Yeah.
We've discussed
Love
the
Fletch.
film Memoirs of an Invisible Man.
Yes.
A low point for all.
Sure.
Not really.
Yeah.
No one's covering themselves in glory.
Are
days.
those the only 2 we've done?
I believe
Is this the
that's
third?
it.
I feel like on that episode in particular, we talked a lot about, because Carpenter cites that as like a moment that kind of like killed his spirits. There is
Yes.
kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
before and after in his career of like post memoirs. He seems a little heartbroken in a way that happens to a lot of popular artists, right? Like there's some failure or setback they experience that they never totally get over. And some of our very kind, very normal Redditors, I saw in the comments of that episode being like, what is their source for this? What is all this weird negativity they're throwing at Chevy Chase?
Oh, that's
And I just want to say, our source for this is everyone who has ever had any interaction with
Yes.
Chevy Chase.
Any written reporting
He is
on
basically
Chevy Chase.
A famous before and after person in people's careers when they work with him. And
He breaks people.
he does. And we were talking about this, David, as we were prepping to do this episode a couple days ago. You were like, here's a question. Has anyone ever stepped away and
Right.
gone, you know what? I actually had a really good experience
or
with him.
who's the guy who has the anecdote? My point was like, when my daughter got married, Chevy called me and was like, I'm so happy to hear about it. You know what I mean? Like the
Right,
guy
right.
who's like, Chevy's always been a mensch to me.
And my counterpoint to you was in one of like a vodka-fueled Harmontown 7-hour run-ons where
that
Dan
Harmon
Harmon
was
like
like, he
played
has that in
voicemails of
him.
Chevy saying the
Right.
N-word. He also was like, and by the way, here are 3 very nice things that Chevy's done.
Right.
In the framework of, it was genuinely nice and it's hard for me to like make sense of that.
Yeah, it doesn't fit into the fucking.
But there's like no one
rubric.
in a way that's even like,
Well, who
well,
worked?
Bill Murray can be temperamental, but like Wes Anderson and Sophia Coppola know how to work with him. And they're like, he's always great with me. There's
Yeah.
no one who's like, Chevy and I
That's my
always
question.
get along.
So okay, so Landis, John Landis.
Uh-huh.
Hate to bring him up early, but he worked with him multiple times. Spies Like Us, Three Amigos, there might be more, right?
Right.
I'm trying to think, like, who's worked with Chevy multiple,
Who's
made
come
multiple
back
movies
multiple
with
times?
Chevy.
We can do some.
Besides the entity of National Lampoon.
One, Ramis did it
Right.
twice. Ramis did it twice.
But like even shit like Vacation, 4 different directors.
Right.
Caddyshack, the sequel had a different director. You know what I
Totally,
mean? Like Fletch Lives, different director.
But even then, and we can do some digging here, and I invite our listeners to do some digging. I don't remember ever seeing a quote from Ramis or
I
Landis.
take it back. Fletch Lives had the same director.
Okay, Richie
did both.
Did
Yeah.
both? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing a quote from any director who's like, I know he's had trouble with other people, but we get on really well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the
I
best
get
case
Chevy.
scenario
Right.
is people being like, I'm fairly good at handling him.
Well, also he
Right? Like, I'm good at, like, my house is stormproofed.
he
not
ends
like
up, he
the-
ends up not being worth it either. Which you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Well, that's
there are,
the other
There are
thing.
people who are equally pricky but insane, levels above talented, and so
Yes.
you're like, "Fuck, all right,
All right.
strap in, we're doing this."
You know what,
class-
man?
What?
Richie worked with him 3 times.
What's the
Oh,
third
shit.
one?
Cops and Robertsons with
Whoa.
Jack Palance.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So maybe Richie's the guy who's like, I always had a fine time with Chevy. Like I get Chevy.
But also maybe
could be also a guy that Chevy dominates and gets hired.
Possibly.
going
And we'll
to say
also never
the
know
Mike
'cause he's
Myers
dead.
role.
Dead
Right.
in the ground.
Well, I tell you how.
Okay, I just found a Guardian article that says that Sylvester Stallone and Chevy Chase are good friends.
Oh, those 2 guys, those normal guys.
I believe
small
it.
personalities. We call those small personalities.
Little.
But in Philly, they opened a Rocky memorabilia shop, and Chevy Chase showed up for the opening with Sly.
great.
Well, Sly is my ambassador to Hollywood, so I'm able to deal with I'm interacting with him a lot.
I'm
Right.
really, I gotta say, I'm now disappointed that Chevy never made it into an Expendables.
That would have been fun. That would have been fun.
It's a
He's
bummer.
tall.
He's very tall. He's good at falling down.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a bummer that he was such an asshole because he really can carry a comedy.
This is what we're going to talk about
Yeah.
because this is all right. So Fletch, all right, okay. Number one question, I'm posing it to everybody. What is the best Chevy Chase movie? Is it Fletch? Is it Caddyshack? Is it Vacation? Christmas Vacation?
To me, it's a toss up. It's difficult to choose between Fletch and Christmas Vacation
because
I
those
think
are the two sides of Chevy: Smarm versus affable,
Bumbling.
Bumble.
Yeah.
Now, I want to
Right,
unpack this a little bit right off the bat.
No, that's why I'm putting it out there.
Because in our Memoirs of Invisible Man episode, I talked about how he basically has this unbreakable persona of smartest guy in the room, like smarming circles around everyone, making the jokes under his breath, kind of being gross with women, but everyone's sort of charmed by it, right?
Yeah.
And then people responded like, you're excluding Clark Griswold, which is his kind of
Which
one
is not your thing.
low status role. It's his like hapless, this guy kind of gets made to look a fool over and over again.
I think he gets to play both sides
He
as
does,
Clark
a little.
Griswold,
It's the balance.
which is the best part is that he gets to be like a smarmy wise ass
Totally.
who then is the butt of the joke and
It
then
is
is also randomly the heartfelt dad.
It is
too.
the
Yeah.
balance.
randomly, but
Quentin
sort of
Tarantino,
successful.
who is like the biggest fan of the cinema of Chevy Chase and is always talking
That's a
about how
guy I
he's
can't believe hasn't brought Chevy into a movie.
insane.
Yeah.
Right. But
I
even
think-
he is
Because
like,
that's the thing.
He's like, I'm a
Tarantino,
fucking psycho and I don't want to work with him.
he's savvy. Exactly.
He's savvy.
He's savvy.
but Tarantino loves Chevy and has talked about him at length and is like the thing I love about Chevy movies. And he'll go to bat by like Funny Farm is a flat out 5-star masterpiece.
I like
he's
Funny Farm.
The whole canon of
I
Chevy
like Funny Farm.
through like 99 he's like all in the tank for, right? His big defense is like in that era of the sort of like postmodern version of the Groucho Marx cool wise guy, like snob versus slob comedy that comes out National Lampoon and SNL and whatever. All the other guys needed to go soft at some point and learn a lesson or show they really cared or that they were tender. And like Chevy movies, he never stops being an asshole.
Yeah.
He like Quentin Tarantino really stands for the commitment to the smarm from Chevy, whereas like the Vacation movies are the only ones where there's a bit of balance without it feeling like he's selling out, which is an interesting tension. It is like just through quantity, you have to say his definitive movie character.
Right.
Griswold,
It
for
is
sure.
his one franchise, but like outside of that, every other Chevy performance is Griswold without any balance,
Right.
kind of winning more often.
But Ben, is your answer Fletch? It was your OG pick.
Yeah, and I adore Fletch. It's so rewatchable. I feel like though I have such a soft spot for Christmas.
Yes.
Right. Which is just such a family classic for many. Not for me.
Not
Yeah.
for me either.
I had never
Because you
seen it
mentioned
until
this,
this
you
year.
mentioned this off mic earlier.
What did I say?
You said you were Jewish.
I did say that, and Gabrus threatened to leave immediately. I said, let's get that on mic.
I asked Griffin before I came in here. I'm like, you don't have any Jewish people recording.
Yeah.
You're like, we actually have several.
I have
was
to
like,
make
I'm out.
I have to make a confession, Gabrus.
No.
I too am Jewish.
No, come on. I'm trying to do comedy in New York, and I'm finding all these Jewish guys.
Keep buttoning the walls.
But obviously, there
all these
are
movie fans and movie critics are all these intellectual, funny Jewish guys.
there are many Jews who grew up with the beloved Christmas comedies.
I mean,
I just
yeah.
did not grow up with the vacation movies at all.
We were a big Christmas movie family, despite being a Jewish New York family, and yet my parents had a real allergy to Chevy Chase. We were a Bill Murray household. That was the flavor of smarm that was accepted in our household.
Were you watching Scrooged?
Oh,
Not as much,
great movie.
Right.
Great fucking
but
movie.
we were like we were watching like Christmas Story every year on TNT and
I've
shit.
never seen, famously.
Yeah,
Whoa.
a very good film. But yeah, I remember one year family friends gifting us a DVD of Christmas Vacation and my parents being like, really? And their friends who were adults, the woman was like, yeah, we watched it all the time when I was growing up. And they were like, really? You watched this?
It's so
We
funny.
had it in the house. And they were just kind of like, oh, I kind of hate we have a Chevy movie on the shelf.
Christmas Vacation is enormous in my family.
Right.
It looms insanely large. I have an uncle, Uncle Mike. He has no idea how podcasts work at all, but he'll appreciate the shout out. He's one of the most generous laughers in my life, and he always said he looks a little bit like Michael McDonald. He was a postal worker. He's a mailman. He had like tinted glasses and gray long hair, and he would always be like, I want to be your sidekick when you're a talk show host because I'll just cackle, because he thought I was so funny.
Hey,
He would it would be like the summer. It would be a 4th of July barbecue, and we'd be standing around.
Throwing Christmas
Yeah,
vacation.
he would no, he would say shit like, "Don't worry, he's just yakking on a bone," or like, "Got a little bit of that Mississippi leg hound in him. You got to let him finish." Like he knew the whole movie by
Fascinating.
heart.
Yeah.
He was obsessed with it. He would laugh so hard just talking to us about it. He would have tears pouring down his face just remembering scenes. My aunt instilled a rule that he wasn't allowed to start watching Christmas Vacation
Wow.
until Thanksgiving.
Right.
Because otherwise he'd be watching it every weekend.
He'd watch it every fucking
Yeah,
weekend.
yeah.
And he also famously, there's a famous family story that they threatened to turn a plane around he was on because he was laughing so loud he was ruining everyone's time.
Yeah.
And when I said, "Uncle Mike, why were you laughing so loud?" He's like, "My buddy was telling me about Monty Python's The Holy Grail."
Oh,
He was just
I love
hearing
that.
about the movie and cackling. I'm like, "Oh, it's awesome."
I just think there's basically a grouping of like A Christmas Story, Christmas Vacation, Elf.
We're talking about cable classics,
Right,
But especially the first, like it's just like cable TV is invented, and they're like, what shall we put on it? And they're like, well, Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation,
Right.
well, we know in a
For
month
sure.
that this will play well.
Yeah, exactly.
But there
those
was
are,
sort
those are
of
in there.
Vacation movies in general, I felt like were on cable all the time.
Because
Yes.
they're just what America wanted in the 80s. This kind of like just ribbled enough, right? Like family friendly, but also like a little
spicy,
sexy,
a little-
Here's a confession that might surprise you, Gabrus. And David and I have been comparing notes on this. I had seen National Lampoon's Vacation and Christmas Vacation. I feel like Cloverfield style, as I like to call it.
Yeah, like you bits and pieces
Right.
over the
like
years.
I, in the last 36 hours, watched both of them, intentionally sitting down from beginning to end for the first time in my life.
Whoa.
But I was like, yeah, I've seen every scene of this.
Yes.
But just in like jumping in, popping in, here and out.
poor guy probably kept up for the first few miles.
Yes.
Did you go to
European, I put on,
I'd
I was like,
certainly
I don't
never
think I've
seen
seen any of this.
Did you go to Vegas?
Have I in my life? Oh, I haven't yet in my watch through.
I went.
You did all 5.
I did
right?
all of them. I even watched the remake or continuation.
continuation.
I should say.
The legacy.
I've never seen that one. How is it?
Have you seen it? The John Francis Daley, Jonathan Goldstein,
Is it
Ed Helms? Ed Helms.
Yeah, I haven't
Christina
watched.
Applegate?
The first 20 minutes of it, you're like, this is cooking. This is funny. And then I don't know. Its biggest set pieces did nothing for me.
But also,
it
like,
has a little bit of stuff.
Goldstein and Daly right after that go on to do Date Night and Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm sorry, Game Night. They didn't do Date Night, mercifully.
Yeah, no, they did the Better Night
Right.
movie.
They did Game Night and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So you want to go back and be like, was this a secret masterpiece? Because
It's
these guys
not.
seem to be on
But it's
here.
got a couple clever things.
Sure.
It's
It's okay.
The era that it came out in is like, I mean, it was the beginning of the dearth of comedies.
I was gonna
So,
say-
like,
And
yeah.
it's so of that peak. It's peak like the Hangover era.
Where the
Post
Millers,
Apatow.
yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
nasty
Right.
and like just kind of puerile and gross in a way where you're kind of like, it's kind of funny, and then again, you just kind of get sick of it. After
I have a
pretty
very
quickly.
distinct memory of that movie, if not bombing, at least significantly underperforming,
Sure.
and feeling a shiver in my body and going, oh, fucking theatrical comedies might be a little doomed. Because I was like, well, it's going to do well.
Well, you
because-
were wrong.
Right.
Bigger and better than ever.
I remember logicking out. That movie came out in August, and like 1 or 2 other big comedies had flopped already that year. And I was like, that's going to do well just because there has to be one comedy hit every summer.
Right. Something's got to give.
And We're the Millers was kind of an example of like a couple other things that underperformed, and then that weirdly overperformed in August because people are just like, I want to laugh one time.
Right. Your horrible
This summer.
bosses are doing well for
Totally.
this reason.
Right.
And it was like Vacation didn't do well. And I was like, there were no comedy hits this year? What does that mean?
Yeah, wait, what was the biggest comedy hit of 2015? I'm about to find out. I'm going.
Daddy's
Pitch Perfect
Home,
2 doesn't count.
Daddy's Home comes out that Christmas.
Oof.
That's the one.
Wait, you're saying Daddy's Home? That's 30th. We can't do better than that. Spy is above it. Do we count Spy?
Yeah. Okay.
Spy's a
so Spy did well.
comedy.
Spy
Well,
did
I
well.
liked Spy.
Yeah.
Spy's good. I mean,
yeah.
Spy is quite good.
Yeah.
Looks like Spy is the top comedy on this list that isn't like a cartoon.
And no one's
Okay.
talking about it. But I
Right.
enjoyed it. It was
I-
good, but
he's-
no one's like,
Oh,
we
and
got-
you know
let's rip the bomb
You know
and
what?
throw on Spy.
Trainwreck is above
Oh, sure.
those movies.
Okay.
But Daddy's Home does come out in Christmas.
Yeah,
So
sure.
then, you know what? There had been comedy hits that year. I don't know what the fuck I was talking about,
Yeah,
but
maybe
certainly
you just
Vacation
relax,
didn't
Griff,
do well.
and comedy's doing fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
Comedy's
mean, the
doing
things
fine.
that did badly that maybe you're thinking
Comedy's
about
legal
is that
again.
Comedy is legal again.
I have made
But-
I made comedy legal again.
by when they say they made comedy legal again, they mean it made it not funny at all.
Yeah.
Like, that seems to be what they mean.
Yeah, they mean slurs are legal.
Right.
Ted,
And slurs are comedy also.
And some people
they're
are
saying three
laughing.
things at once.
Some very specific people are laughing in specific rooms.
Ted 2 Pixels.
Okay.
You know, like there's movies on this.
Those are a couple
Paul
big budget
Blart
bombs.
Mall Cop 2. All movies where I defend Pixels, but movies where it's
Pixels,
like, what are we doing?
I defend as well.
I defend Pixels.
But those are
what you said. I defend, and whatever movie you chose after those three, I was going to give you this same look of disgust.
But like, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing Paul Blart Mall Cop 2. The first one did well. We make sequels to successful movies,
was
but at the
also-
same time, I think America's like, guys, we gave you a pass on Paul Blart.
I think
Mall
it was
Cop.
also
Kind of went. That was like a proto meme where it's like, wouldn't it be funny if we just
Right,
saw
exactly.
this movie?
Like, sure, fucking.
But also, Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, in my memory, was a bit of another stakeout where I'm like, you waited 6 years to do
they
this?
waited a little too
like,
long.
he hit the, like, iron a couple times, had a couple other hits, then bombs, then was like, I guess I got to go back to the safety net of Blart. And people were like, okay.
We miss Blart. Stop doing MMA guys and guys who work in
Zookeepers.
zoos.
Yeah. Yeah, that was what it was. It was Kevin James going like, fine, I'll
So the
fucking
King
do
of Queens
Blart
bought
too.
a zoo.
Right. Yes.
I had never seen any of these movies.
Yeah.
And
Whoa.
when Heckerling got picked, I was like, all right, I'm going to fucking watch
Good
them.
excuse.
Are you a fan of vacation as a concept? You don't have like a
Now,
lot of vacation
this
vibes.
is a
Wow.
rich conversational thread.
Wow.
Thank
It's a
you
fair
for
question.
opening this door.
I'll say this.
You don't
I,
like traveling
well,
as an
not
act.
right now because I have all these children.
Yes.
And there are some people who I know with young children who are just like, I don't give a shit.
I have to do
I
it.
gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, obviously, they gotta go see their family.
Right.
You know, I get that very much. So, but like some people are just like, I gotta go on vacation. I'll just bring the kids. You tough out the hard parts. You do the easy part.
Enjoy the
you know,
good
whatever.
parts, yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just like, no, man. Bringing kids on vacation is a huge hassle. You don't have any fun. So far, is my experience.
Yeah, and
I
they
think-
get not much out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think, you know, we're getting close to now. My daughter would probably enjoy a vacation,
Yeah.
but now I have 2 extra kids.
Sure.
Great
Extra.
Great
I mean,
move by me.
famously,
That's a great way to phrase that.
an
Two
anecdote
extras.
I love to repeat on
Buy
this.
one, get two free.
Podcast.
That's what happened.
In early 2020, we were
Free.
planning to go to Orlando to do an episode about Galaxy's Edge when that was about to open. And there were 2 windows where it made sense to do it: February 2020 or June 2020.
He's so worked up about that.
And we
Oh.
were close to pulling the trigger on February. And then I was like, fuck, the Ratatouille ride doesn't open until June. Let's wait for June. And then the world ends, right? And David and his wife have their first child. And then, like, when things reopened, we sort of like started the conversation again about, like, is it worth trying to talk about doing this? And David's response was, I can't go to Disney World now. I have a child.
Right.
Correct.
Which is a very funny phrase because that's when you're supposed to go. Not when you have a 0-year-old, obviously.
Exactly.
But
Gotta
yeah.
wait
Yes.
for them.
I'm not calling
Disney
out.
fucking. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my
I'm just not one of these guys.
So
I
here for
fucking hate Disney.
Yes, someone
shit-
says it.
Disney, like almost everything else I like in life, is ruined by the other people who like it.
Now,
When I
here's the
go
other
to
thing.
Disney, everyone there drives me
I don't
fucking
disagree with
crazy.
this. I don't
is the
disagree
thing.
with this.
Even this is what I hear from everyone, where everyone who likes Disney World
Sure.
and shit is like, it's kind of getting ruined both by the super fans and by the evil
Yeah.
company that runs it,
Yeah.
you know, squeezing every last drop of money out of it.
But I think a lot of your frustration with traveling as a concept, which has obviously gotten more complicated as you now have 1 million children,
Yeah.
is the like hell is other people part of it. Like you don't like dealing with the systems and crowds.
I don't know if that's true.
That's
I don't
part
mind
of my.
a
That's
system.
part. You are in
I don't
one
mind
of
a
the weirdest
system.
postures I've ever seen in my entire life.
Gabrus is pointing out,
I don't
I
even know how
am,
to explain it.
I am double jointed.
Yes, you
so
are.
I can bend my arms
Wow.
behind my back in a really weird
He
way.
created his own. I could describe it. He created his own gargoyle wings
That is
using
right.
his arms.
That is right. I do it
perfectly
sometimes and it alarms people.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll
but
say
it helps
this.
you get out of handcuffs frequently.
Yeah.
When I was 9 years old, we moved. Yes, we moved to England. It's just a known fact on this podcast.
Been listening to the pod for a long time.
Decade
I
of
wish you guys did some
And
bits
my
about it every once in a
mom-
while.
Yeah, my mom did not want to move to England.
Okay.
Like my dad got a job and it was, you know, we had to move. But my mom was but she was like, look, if we're going to fucking move to Europe, we are going like on vacation to Europe, right? Like if I'm going to
Take
be this
advantage
close
of being
to
a
it.
train ride
Oh,
away
sure.
from
Exactly.
11 countries.
And
Yeah.
so we went on vacation like cheaply.
and you're a train boy. We know that.
Love a
You
train.
love trains.
We have that in common.
But your mom was kind of the Audrey Griswold of the family.
Yeah, she's
Didn't
like,
want to go
Jesus.
to Europe.
Wait,
Audrey wants to stay home, kiss boyfriends, and eat food.
Oh, she's the daughter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I to me, they're just dad, mom, daughter,
sure.
son. I
to
don't
me, they're
remember their
Chase,
names.
Beverly, daughter, son.
Blank, blank. Phil here, Phil
Well, they
here.
are. You can't name them by the actors because they're different every time.
No, and we'll talk about it, but it's funny
think
how
we
much
should-
the ages change.
They just morph.
They
like
morph.
it's anyway. By Vegas Vacation, it's weird because Chevy's getting a little old and like
Right.
they haven't really aged.
But like Galecki's younger than Rusty in this. The following movie,
I
when
think-
Chase is like 4 years older.
I don't know. You guys hear me out. Griffin hasn't seen it, but Ethan Embry is funny in Vegas Vacation.
He's the best part. Nick
Yeah.
Papagiorgio.
He's
that
really
plot
good.
line
That
is the
whole
best.
plot is. Have you seen Vegas Vacation?
Oh, of
yeah,
course.
Has Ben seen Vegas
I don't know.
Vacation?
I mean, that was really funny. I was laughing.
I gotta
It's
watch
all funny.
I
David,
didn't hate Vegas Vacation. I was sort of surprised, but I was like, this is competent. It's okay.
it because it
It's
has
the
a
one-
bad reputation.
It's the third best.
So you think it's better than
Rank 'em.
European?
Yes.
Wow. I don't
think
think I
European
agree
is
with
the
that.
worst. I think.
But
I agree.
I'll
I feel like
hear it out.
that's-
I'll hear
I
it out.
agree.
yeah, I feel like that's a consensus.
Vegas Vacation just has this vibe of like the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce paid for a movie. You know,
Sure.
a little bit. Like
Yes.
it's got the most like, look at all this shit you can do in Las Vegas.
yeah, there's
you know?
also a desert.
Wayne
you know,
Newton's here.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's got a little bit more of that going on.
But wait, when you lived in Britain, your family
Went on
would do
vacation.
European.
I had
yeah.
like some of the happiest fucking shit I ever did was all those
Sure.
vacations. Like
but you
and
were rusty in that situation. The
I was
pressure
the
wasn't
kid.
on you.
pressure wasn't on me, but I mean, like I went backpacking in Europe with my friends. I was the clerk there.
Well, that sounds like American Werewolf in London.
And that was great. And I like vacation. I'm more of a let me go to a place and sit on a beach. I like to relax.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Whereas, like, I feel like a lot of the vacations that went on when you're a kid, these is the kind of vacations you go on where it's like, all right, kids, we're, going to
Gotta
every
see
fucking
this.
museum. We're going to every church we can find.
This movie captures that pretty well
Right.
too. Yeah.
That's
But
what I like
it
about
is
this
enriching.
one. Yeah.
Like, it's good that I did that.
I need to watch Vegas and the Goldstein
remake,
Daily.
the
Yeah.
But
continuation.
much to my surprise, knowing this movie's reputation, this is kind of my favorite of the first three. I would never argue it's the best. And I think a lot of it's
that seems like Ben looks concerned.
my weird sensibility. But like, I like how angry this movie is. I like that this movie is like the most invested in the hell of the trip.
Yes.
Where it's like the multi-leg that it's like kind of almost every character in this movie seems a little bit like cosmically tortured and rotten.
Well,
and I like that they're ugly Americans, but
that's
also
what I like about the movie
everyone
is
they
that it's
encounter-
anti-American and
Right.
anti-European at the
That's what I
same
like.
time.
I do think it finds that balance well, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is a fool.
which I feel like to a lot of people, they're just like, this movie is just like kind of like toxic from the beginning. Like it just seems sort of mean
Yeah.
in a way that's a little like extreme on the dial.
It's just a touch more boring than you want it to be.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, it's like highly episodic.
Yes, it's like
It has like no drive.
no, and you do not give a fuck about anything.
No,
like it's hard to
chaos.
care about anything in the movie.
It is chaos, and
Actually,
it
honestly,
feels
on this-
borderline nihilistic.
On this viewing, the only thing I cared about was Rusty getting pussy for some reason. Like I got into it a
I
little
mean,
bit.
he cares a lot about that.
He's such a strange looking actor. I'm so sorry to the kid.
Do you know who he is?
No.
He is Blake Lively's brother.
What?
Wow.
They come from like an acting dynasty family
Huh.
where there are.
He's not bad at all.
No, I think there are like 8 kids, and he's the oldest,
Jason
and she's the
Lively.
youngest. Like, there's a big gap between them in age.
Certainly, he was born in '68, and Blake Lively was born in '87.
But
so,
he is
yeah,
her
huge.
straight
19-year
brother.
age difference. Yeah,
like, it's funny to think about this movie in '86. What year did this movie come out?
This movie came out in 1985.
85. And then like 20 years later, his sister is playing a high schooler on TV.
oh, that's great.
That's
Right?
so crazy.
His sister.
Um,
Can I say this about Chevy Chase in this movie?
yes, he can.
When the business is good, like the situational physical comedy stuff, when it's good, it's so good.
When Chevy is good, he's so good that it's frustrating.
Yes, this movie, it just falls so flat.
Yeah. You only
Pretty
see like
much
you only see
most
like a
of the movie.
flash of it, but
Yeah.
you're like he can do better,
Totally.
and he's just not given the opportunity. Also,
Yeah,
and I'll go as far to say,
interesting.
why pack tubes? What's in tubes that you need to bring with you on vacation? I
Sure.
do not understand.
this is
I
a
get it.
big
It's for the physical gag of hitting the guy in the
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
But why is that in the car? What? They brought posters from America? Would they intend to bring home canvas art? Like what do they have all those little tubes for? Is he doing
sure.
architecture work? Like drafting? Like, no. It's fucking crazy.
Well, here's like David's getting ready to clap
you
his
say-
hands. I
say
feel
your
like you had a
thing,
thing to
say your
say.
No, you make a point, and then I want
To
to.
circle back to your like, what's the best Chevy, right? For me, the revelation of Fletch and a movie that I've grown to appreciate more and more on repeat viewings, being educated properly to its importance by Ben Hosley.
Yeah.
Right? I'd seen it once before. Ben helped me place it in a context. I've revisited it now. I like it a lot. I think that's the only movie that starts to gnaw at the core of Chevy Chase is clearly really unhappy. Right?
Yeah.
There's some element of like the whole weird like Fletch just lives under the docks and like hangs out with drug dealers, but it feels like that's where he's most comfortable.
Fletch is one of the most aspirational movies in my life.
Right.
Like I watch Fletch and I'm like, that
I
there's
want to be
something.
this suave.
I want to
like,
be
you know.
this suave. I want to live like this specifically because I love like the beach bum lifestyle
Yes.
and all that shit. Speaking of which, Beach Bum, another aspirational movie. Shout out when you guys do Harmony Korine. I
yeah.
call dibs on that.
I love that you're throwing that in the mix.
Yes.
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 When Harmony Korine wins next year's March Madness.
I want to say
He's
I want
definitely
to
building up the case with his recent output.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to say
Aggro
You
drift.
don't like how that looks, Steven?
We got David Lowry doing
I love
aggro
to-
drift.
I love to have a migraine.
well, there's the new one. What was it? Baby
Baby
Fighters?
Invasion,
Or whatever?
Baby
Baby Invasion.
Invasion.
Have you seen this one?
It's like in a first-person shooter game or whatever.
But the new one it's like a first-person shooter game where everyone has like AI baby heads.
I can't wait.
It's his follow-up. to
I haven't even
Aggro Drift.
seen aggro drift.
No,
I
one
don't
has.
want to.
He hasn't seen Aggro Drift.
It's
He
only
typed
playing
the
at
commands into
the
the
Body
computer.
Shop strip club on Sunset. Like you can.
I think like the Michael Ritchie, who was more of a like dramedy filmmaker, right, and made these films that had like an interesting mash of tones, and could capture some like actual darkness and pathos in a broader comedy. There's just like the subtle, like some of the scenes, the way he captures just like Chevy walking through spaces. It's not like textually overstated, but you're like, there's some darkness going on in this guy.
Also, Chevy knows how to walk through a room and be funny, but not too much. Like he just makes funny physical choices the way he moves or looks or like reacts. Like
Yes.
and that's like a superpower.
Right. But there's like a little bit like there's something behind this guy's defensive armor of like the witty one-liners.
Because he's funny and good looking, tan and rich. He
Right.
should be like happy.
right.
And he just can't be.
Right. And I feel like Fletch interrogates that a little bit, right? And then the first three vacation movies are kind of interesting, prismatic views of like, what is Chevy's power as a movie star? Because I was sort of watching the first one and trying to contextualize like, it feels like National Lampoon's Vacation is early for Chevy to try to make the I'm a dad
Right.
switch, right? Like it feels like he was
It's not,
doing that.
it's not a new dad comedy. It's like I'm a full-blown family. I'm a suburban
Totally.
dad comedy.
And I
yeah.
think there's now more of a pipeline of like that being a stage that like comedy stars need to have in their career, at least when comedy movies still existed, of like you make the family comedy switch really quickly. Whereas back then, I think it was like family comedies are like fucking like $1 Million Duck.
Yeah.
Or you make like cool R-rated transgressive comedies. And Chevy's like straddling this line. What's interesting about the Vacation franchise is that it's like kind of for grown-ups and kids at the same time. They're weirdly horny and angry.
Yeah, it's like the four quadrant movie of our child. Now they
Right.
are now the four quadrant movies are like American Bollywood films more or less. Where
Yes.
it's like it's got a dance number, it's got a fight, it's got romance, it's got it's got a song, it's IP, it's like all this shit.
Right.
And back then a four quadrant movie was like there's some stuff for kids, and if I can quote the great Andy Daly, a little something for daddy.
Yes.
Something for daddy.
But the,
something for
Something for
daddy.
daddy.
he was the oldest, or he wasn't the oldest. Guillermo was the oldest, but he was older going into SNL than a lot of the other guys who were in the early 20s. He is like in his late 30s by the time of the first Vacation, which like in the 1980s in America isn't
You have a 12-year-old at
right.
that
It's like
age, yeah.
totally possible. Maybe not Hollywood stars do, but
Right.
like it's not
A
he's not
majority
at
of Americans, yeah.
Yes. But his persona had still so recently been this guy is cool and gets chicks. And I was astonished in watching the movie straight through for the first time how much The First Vacation plays like a proto-American Beauty, where it's like this guy having some early crisis
Yes.
of like, I have an incredibly comfortable middle-class existence with a beautiful wife and children, and I seem so fucking angry and unhappy, and all I do is fantasize about fucking other women.
That's lost in this movie.
Totally.
There's no the Christine Brinkley role is
Right.
not in this movie.
So the first movie has like a lot of hapless dad stuff, and it obviously builds to the idea of like he's going to hit a breaking point, and what we really want to see is Chevy getting so angry that he's holding John Candy at gunpoint.
Right.
But you also have this running thread of just like this guy seems frustrated with his like very idyllic little life.
That's why. It's a perfect like Reagan era movie.
Yeah.
It's so good for exactly the reason. I was very impressed with it.
Same.
Ramis is a good director.
I was like, but like thematically, there's something interesting going on here in terms of like what it's saying about the culture.
The goal of the movie is nothing.
Nothing.
His goal is to get his family to an amusement park. You know what I mean? Like that's it.
And it basically,
like,
the goal is him over and over again saying, we're going to have fun.
Yes.
And the more he insists upon it, the more everyone has
more
a terrible
difficult
time.
it is. Yeah.
And he's like, I want you to think back to your childhood fondly. I'm forcing good memories.
Which this movie, European Vacation, has that too, I suppose. But yeah, and so I think what's good about these movies is that his relationship with Beverly D'Angelo has a spark of realism to it.
Yes.
Their chemistry is existent.
Forget that Richie guy. I think Beverly D'Angelo is the Chevy whisperer.
I was going to say, she is the one person who always talks fondly about working with him, still does like fucking conventions and screenings with him.
That's a good point. Good for her.
10 years ago, ABC did a pilot for a new show with the two of them. Like, she seems to have only ever had good experiences with Chevy.
So I thought Vacation was funny. The Randy Quaid stuff is interesting.
It's interesting.
In Christmas?
In both.
In the first one.
In Christmas, I think he's singing.
Yeah, in Christmas, that's true. Because they make him even more ridiculous.
Totally.
Yeah.
The more they dial him up, the less it's like, let's make fun of this poor guy.
Yeah, he's not just white trash.
Vacation,
he's just white trash in the Vacation.
Right, Vacation, it's not that over the top.
The first one, they also make the incest joke where you're like, now this is too dark.
Right,
it's
right.
too
like,
dark for me to find
what's
this
the
funny
gag
if he's
here?
actually doing shit with his daughter.
Right.
Versus the second one, he seems very well-intentioned and loves his kids and everything.
Well, that's just a great writing, great casting in that second one. When you put fucking a big bulging man in a leisure suit, you know, like all those specifics and that characterization of like, and there's my brother emptying his shitter, you know, like all that stuff just fucking hits.
It's good.
And they make him get all these amazing big choices, and you're so happy to have that character because you're trying not to hate Chevy Chase watching Christmas Vacation. Then Randy Quaid comes in and you love him, but then you can ride with Chevy in hating him.
Yes.
Like, oh my
Right.
God,
It's
this
the
guy-
classic. It's a great way to bond with people.
He's
over,
so
like, we all hate
sincere.
this guy.
Right. But it's so funny that one of those SNL 50 documentaries on Peacock, the one about the weird year,
Yes.
where it was so strange that Randy Quaid is part of that cast because he was already an Academy Award nominated actor. And for The Last Detail.
Yeah.
Where you're like, this guy was framed as like a serious actor. Like he was playing like funny-ish parts in like The Last Detail and Last Picture Show and like legit movies. And it was like, why was he part of this cast? And one of the talking heads just says, Lauren just thought he was so good in Vacation.
Which is, I mean, good call.
Wow, a flash of Lauren having good taste.
Yeah.
You see it every once in a while.
I mean, the thing that's interesting about season 11 of SNL that thing points out is that Lauren's instincts on who he hired were broadly right. It's a very, very
almost
talented
everyone
cast.
out. Yeah.
Right. They all worked out. But he learns the lesson of like, no, the way I do SNL kind of has to be I create chemistry with a bunch of unknowns.
Not ready for primetime players.
Yes, because then they're all better together. Instead, I just had a bunch of guys who had no connection to each other, so there's no chemistry,
And
even
also
if they're
had
individually
different
talented.
backgrounds. Like he was like, who are people who are funny? And it was like, that's different than doing sketch comedy
He's also
every week.
so funny, which I did not know until I watched that in the final sketch where they kill everyone.
Yes.
They pretend there's like a fire and everyone's and
They
then
pull Lovitz.
and Lauren comes and is like takes Lovitz and he's like, come with me, Lovitz. Like they acknowledge like Lovitz works, everyone else
And then
doesn't.
they cut
he's
to,
coming
like,
back.
Yes.
Right. They cut to Smigel and he's like, I guess I didn't realize in the moment that the cast would be offended by that sketch. that all of them like just went to the table read and saw this sketch where it's like, and he saves Lovitz and no one else from the fire. And
You
then
do have to rehearse these
that
things.
final episode when they run the cast list at the end, they all have
And it's all
question marks at their name.
It's a good bit.
That's Randy Quaid, who's already been in movies.
That's
Whatever.
awesome. Fuck Randy Quaid.
Well, hey,
he's an
but
asshole.
he's not in this movie. He's not an asshole. He's just the world's most insane man.
Well,
I would say he's an asshole.
Maybe he's an asshole.
he's a
put
huge
out, He
asshole.
put out a video of fucking a woman doggy style
He did
with
do
a,
that.
He was fucking
where
his
she's
wife
wearing like
a Rupert Murdoch mask
Yeah.
because he said he was being deprived of Independence Day residuals.
But he's also become a huge Trump supporter.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like, I'm
okay.
saying, like, it's not just that he called out the
Hollywood
Hollywood
bushwhackers.
bushwhackers, right? It wasn't just that.
Well, he also like was like maybe handsy as a theater, like he ran a
I
theater
forgot
company
that
with his.
fucking part of it too, and he was playing Falstaff.
I mean, I think this is
and
where
he was
the
like,
Star
"I'm method," and
Whackers,
Falstaff would do that.
the Star Whackers had a doth protest too much thing, right?
Yes.
Where he's like, "They're after me," and I'm like, "After you for what?
What
Randy?"
exactly, Randy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just like pedo hunters. Like, why are you thinking about pedophiles so much?
It's always
You go around the camera waiting for an excuse to punch people in the face and claim that you're on the right side of the law. No, but it is like watching his sequence of the first vacation. I was like, this is one of those examples of like a performance that kind of breaks an actor.
He's
where
missed in this movie.
He's missed in this, which you can tell.
you can tell when they bring him back for Christmas.
They
and he's
know
full- yeah.
they need him, but then you're
And
also like,
Vegas,
this
yeah.
becomes his persona for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
he
like that's him
basically
in
becomes
Independence
riffs
Day.
on Cousin Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder, how do you get him in this movie? Obviously, you could just be like, they're on vacation. Like,
they're
there's
also
a
there.
way.
Yeah.
But I guess I can see how they naturally were like, well, there's not room for Randy Quaid here.
Hmm.
But well, you know what? I'm going to open the dossier. Although the dossier begins with, well, this is going to be a short one, folks. So
Okay.
I don't know how much there is on the genesis of this film.
Mhm.
Beyond, of course, that Vacation had been a hit.
Right.
And so
We must do it
Vacation
again.
2
Yeah.
has to happen.
He's basically coming off of all hits at this point. The Benji movie wasn't a hit, and Over the Rainbow or Under the Rainbow wasn't a hit, but like Foul Play seems like old times. Caddyshack is obviously a smaller part. He was like pretty consistently hitting at the box office.
John Hughes has credit for the story and screenplay. Robert Klein, who wrote Weekend at Bernie's, Ben, gets the other credit. But Hughes says he had nothing to do with this movie.
He both wrote the
He's
original
working on The Breakfast Club
story for National Lampoon and actually wrote the first script, but basically got a like weirdly steroided story by and script credit on this, even though it was just
I
for
think
creating
because they
characters.
pulled so much, but they
I
pulled
think
so much
from his
deleted shit
writing.
from
Yeah.
and that they or not used in the first movie kind of bits and
Yes.
stuff like that. So I think that they just had to give.
But
and-
basically didn't consciously do any work on this
No.
movie. Yes.
obviously,
Yes. It has a different tone.
So, and Hughes, of course, does have a much more major role in Christmas.
He comes back to sort
And
of
I
right the
think-
ship.
Right. A lot of people thus see his influence as
And,
being
and
crucial.
Christmas is based on a different, unrelated National Lampoon story.
Yeah.
They were like, we got to get back to the Hughes well. So, like, oh, you wrote the story about a family Christmas. Let's retro fit that into the Vacation
now
franchise.
you're at a point where you can just make one of these movies a year. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And like it's just like pick a fucking location, bring them there. It's like Tintin in blank. You
It
know what I
is.
mean? Just fucking take the family wherever. It's the idea of like vacation, European vacation, Christmas vacation,
know.
Vegas vacation. It's like unstoppable.
It's almost astounding they only made 4.
I guess that's kind of what
In
I'm
the
saying
golden
is that you would
age.
think
Right.
that there'd
Chevy.
be 8 of those.
Because of Chevy,
It's 'cause
probably.
Chevy.
But like, I think the first one, Chevy's weirdly detailed Wikipedia about the ups and downs of his career. That seems to have been written by maybe someone related to him. But like, they said that like the first Vacation was his highest grossing solo star movie at the time. Then like Europeans down a little bit, but not a flop, right?
No, it still made 40.
Then Christmas Vacation is his biggest movie.
Yeah.
So then like the third one's the biggest. I would just be like, well, let's keep fucking
Well,
pumping these
Where
out.
do you want him to go? I'm just saying.
I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah. You want it. It's got to be like
Obviously, they settled on Vegas, but that really does have the energy of Vegas was like, hey,
Vegas
can we
was
pay
like,
you
well,
to make this
underwrite,
movie?
yeah.
Right. But where else could he go?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because in Christmas Vacation, they don't even go anywhere. It is, of course,
They stay home.
one's Christmas
It's not a
vacation.
vacation.
There's no school. But
Right,
they don't
right.
travel.
Yeah. I
Set
guess
in his fucking house.
Maybe
gotta
they
do-
made a
you got-
mistake
You got to
biting
do
off.
spring break where they go to
yeah.
like San Padre Island and don't realize that it's going to be like that horny and rusty.
There might have been a
sounds
franchise
solid,
mistake
honestly.
in biting off all of Europe in one go.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Right. And like
Australian Vacation.
Yeah, I don't want like an
honestly,
African safari.
I was gonna say I don't want the
Yeah.
Griswolds in Africa.
Yeah.
But an Australian Vacation with how much we were obsessed with Australia in the 80s and 90s, that would have done
post-Croc.
boku bucks. Yeah.
Get Hogan
you're
on
right.
board.
That's the move.
Yeah.
As like Hogan is like the Australian Griswolds. Like, hey, mate. Yeah, I've never met you before. Now, of course, there is a strange little irony to the fact that Vacation was directed by Harold Ramis. This is directed by Amy Heckerling. Harold Ramis and Amy Heckerling had a child together at a secret affair. We're going to talk about that much more on our Look Who's Talking episode.
A movie that's basically about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was not that enthused about this project because of Ramis.
Mhm.
Like, like, what am I following him up? But she says she liked the concept of American idiots running around destroying Europe.
It definitely feels like that's the part she's in on.
Yes.
And Johnny Dangerously is clearly in trouble. It's testing poorly.
Mhm.
So she has that sense of like, oh boy, I need something that's, reliable.
And she's made this very strong decision to not try to repeat Fast Times. Like she's
Right.
talked about that she immediately got 20 scripts like that. She's at the tip of the spear of like the teen movie explosion of the 80s.
Do you remember when you first watched Fast Times? I have a distinct memory of like hearing about this legendary teen comedy and then watching it and being like, was that funny?
we
That
talk
was like
about
a
it.
It's a
little heavier than I
a
remember.
lot
It's a
in the
big part
episode.
of our discussion.
And,
of
like,
the episode.
watching
Well,
it-
great movie.
Yeah, great movie. And watching it now
a
is
wonderful movie.
Watching
Don't know
it-
if it's
oh,
an
totally.
elite comedy.
But when
yeah.
I was like 12, that really confused me. And when I watch
Yes.
it now, I'm like, this is a masterpiece. I can't believe it can hold both tones.
Yes. Well, it's like you forget, like it's. I said this on the Full Metal Jacket episode.
Mhm.
You forget that Arlie Ermey's only in it for like 15 minutes, and then
Yes.
the Fast Times about that is that Spicoli is a,
Right.
a side character.
But
Yeah.
like, it is funny that movie has such a complicated balance of things that are able to coexist. And then she follows it up with two movies that are just like,
No
this
balance,
is
yeah.
silly chaos, right? Like she's just making kind of like goofball madness movies.
Yeah.
Which I think part of that is her being like, I'm trying to avoid the like pigeonholing that happens to women in their careers, and there's so few female directors, and I don't want to get stuck in like one corridor. And can I make boys movies, quote unquote?
Yeah.
But the other part is that like her influences are like, I love the Marx Brothers and I love these things. And can't I like
She
try to
comes. She
expand
comes
it?
back hard after this with Clueless, correct?
She does Look Who's
She does
Talking,
Look
which
Who's
is
Talking, which is
so
smash hit.
fucking successful.
I love that movie as a kid.
Yeah.
I can't. On a re, I'm curious. I can't wait to listen to your episode.
Yeah.
But I'm very curious on a rewatch how I'd feel about it.
I
Very
really
fun and
liked it a lot.
watchable movie.
Oh,
She,
yeah.
does, she does Look. She does Look.
Kirstie Alley's purple bra is like an image that I will never
hot.
forget.
Her hair. We talk a lot about her hair.
She's so hot.
She does Look. She does Look 2. She
Yes.
doesn't direct Look 3. She does Clueless. So she does 3 hits in a row that are like her totally birthing something.
Yeah.
Whereas
and Clueless. Recently, Rogan said in an interview it's the best high school movie
Yeah.
ever
Yes,
made,
it's her
and it
masterpiece.
could easily be. Like that movie changed me.
But Johnny Dangerously and European Vacation are both her coming on to pre-existing developments.
Yeah,
The difference is that Johnny
Hired gun
Dangerously
style. Yeah,
is her being like, I love fucking gangsters movies. This is the kind of dream movie for me. And European Vacation is a little more like, I guess that's a career move.
yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Let me
Well-
rinse this one out of my mouth.
No,
yeah, yeah.
This might shock you, but Chevy Chase was not very kind about Amy Heckerling in the press after. In his biography, I'm Chevy Chase and You're Not, he said, I had problems with the director Amy Heckerling, a lovely person, but I didn't think her direction smacked of energy and humor. He doesn't think the movie is funny. Beverly D'Angelo also doesn't think the movie is funny. She thinks it's not saucy enough. Like she was sort of like the script is a little too G-rated. No one had
She was
figured out what
angry
the
that she didn't show her
formula
rack
was.
2 times in this one.
God bless that rack. Great rack.
I mean,
As she
A
says,
voice, it's the sexiest voice and an insane body. Being a kid and just being like, I fuck Christy Brinkley. Like I love when you're
Yeah.
a kid and
Yes.
you're like siding. You're like,
Mega babe.
dude, your wife is so hot. Don't blow it.
I do think that is a key part of the cultural stickiness of children who grew up watching these movies is like
these
the
movies
weird
are
complications of
R-rated
like,
but family friendly.
but
I mean,
also being like
first
the
one is.
mom is really hot and she's
Yeah.
sexualized in it.
Well,
And where in
no,
these
it's
types
not
of
just that
movies,
she's
those roles are
sexualized.
like,
she's a sexy lady. She
and she
likes
has
to have
agency and their
sex.
relationship
Exactly.
is like sexually
like
charged.
rather versus right, like the sort of so much boring American humor about like frigid wives
That's
who
what I
like
was
make
gonna
you
say.
dinner and
right,
like
where
whatever.
those
It's like,
characters are so
the stores
thankless.
close, or the Rodney Dangerfield, God bless Rodney, I love him. Stereotype of like my wife is fucking everyone else in town but me.
Is Beverly, is Audrey Griswold? Wait, that's not her name.
She's No, Audrey's
As
the
everyone
daughter.
has
She's
everyone
mom.
doing.
Ellen?
She's Mom Griswold.
Ellen Griswold.
Ellen. Yeah.
Is Ellen Griswold the fucking tabula rasa for MILF porn?
I kind you know what, John?
Gotta go.
John?
Ben, you want to leave?
John,
I
No,
don't
I'm
think
gonna
so.
stick around.
I want to say something
Ben's
about
Alienware laptop is open.
now. Ben just swung his monitor away from us.
Yeah.
Beverly D'Angelo.
I think you're onto something.
This
here,
is
though.
her biography.
I think she is the archetype that most of those videos are riffing on.
I'm sorry. This is from the Chevy biography.
Okay.
This is just a quote from her. I'm going to read the quote and then I'm going to talk about it.
Sure.
I was living in Europe with my husband, the Duke, so I'm glad the second one was in Europe, but I know Chevy missed being home. Janie was pregnant. It was cold. The script wasn't that funny.
That was his wife. Yeah.
At one point, my husband had a birthday party for me, and Keith Richards was there. Everyone was singing all night, and Eric Idle was so hoarse that he had to ADR all his scenes in the movie. Now,
That's
I don't know about you
that's
guys.
a fucking movie I want to see made. I was
100%.
Beverly D'Angelo was married to an
There
Italian
you go. Where
dude.
I was like, "Who's the Duke?"
Yep,
So
no.
I looked that up.
Yep.
And that is, of course, Don Lorenzo Salviati, one of the fucking dukes of Sicily or whatever the hell. She also, her romantic history, she dated Milos Forman
Yes.
around when he was directing her in the movie Hair.
Correct.
Then she marries the Duke. She's with him for a
She
good
leaves him
15
for
years.
Anton First,
Leaves him for Anton First, the brilliant designer who
Academy
created
Award-winning
Batman's look.
production designer of the first Batman, who then
tragically died by
commits
suicide.
suicide. But I believe they're together at the time of his death.
Yes, and then she hitched her star to Al Pacino and had a kid with
Which
him.
I also believe she left John Patrick Shanley for Pacino.
Basically,
Jesus.
Beverly D'Angelo is like the queen of all babes, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
She had twins with
She's like
Pacino in her late
Dukes,
40s.
Pacino, everyone's like, please, my love, what can I do? How do I get you?
Get it. I totally get it. She's like this weird Hollywood muse who's talented in her own right, but then she's
Yeah.
just dipped around to like.
Do you know what else I saw? Like, she has one of those weird, like, I never considered acting, and someone was like, you should try this, and then she was naturally good at it.
Right.
She worked as an animator.
Yeah, she worked at
For
Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera.
She's
Yes.
so everything
She was
about
fucking painting cells.
She was also a backup singer for the Hawks,
Yeah,
which
before
were a
they became
rockabilly
the
band
band.
that turned into the band.
Oh shit!
Isn't that crazy?
That's
Oh my
so
God.
crazy.
And
She's
then
like
right,
this,
eventually
like,
she's
Forrest
like,
Gump
I'll
figure.
do like some acting, and she's
she's like
in
a fucking
Annie Hall.
busty Zelig.
Yeah. And she
She's like,
invented MILF porn
Yeah.
unconsciously.
Forest lumps.
She's
John?
still
5 comedy points.
that was good. She's still with us.
She is, thank God.
She
still
mostly
got it.
She still
seems
got it.
like she some TV stuff. So she hasn't been doing much in the last
Like,
10 years.
I saw her.
She's still riding high off Duke money.
Isn't she in one of the Harold
got
and
some of that
Kumar
Duke money.
movies? Am I wrong in thinking that she plays like a southern brothel?
Yes,
madam?
she's in Escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Thank you.
To me, the not the best.
That's my
Harold
favorite
and
one.
Kumar.
Oh,
Although,
right.
but the Harold and Kumar franchise is also one in general where I'm like, how is that gonna work for me on rewatch? I really like the first one a lot,
Sure.
and I've
Yeah.
seen it many times.
I'm a big Guantanamo Bay defender.
That movie
No,
sucks.
we're talking about the movie Harold and Kumar, not the
okay.
concept of it. I know
I've
you're
never
huge-
seen the film.
I know
I
you're-
like the
I
place.
love America owning land in
Yeah,
other countries that it
Griffin's
uses
a
to
big
torture people.
Enhanced interrogation
Yeah,
guy.
Talk about vacation spots.
So Chevy and Bev both down on this movie.
Mhm.
Anthony Michael Hall, of course, who plays the son in the first film, declines, doesn't want to come back.
Why? Because
He's
Hughes
sick
has
of
already
playing
plucked
kids.
him. But
Oh,
he's
that's also true. Yeah,
right.
yeah. He's right. He's doing Breakfast Club this year, probably.
And I think Weird Science both are in the same
right,
year.
Right,
maybe?
that's what it is.
But
right.
Hughes
It's
is like,
later
you're
that
a
he decides
leading
not to
man
be
now.
kids.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Because there's some other movie he was going to be in that
Full
he's,
Metal Jacket, right?
Yes.
That's
He was supposed to be the Modine role in Full Metal Jacket.
That's what.
But
it
he was
is.
kind of like he turned Kubrick off with like
I don't
some
want to
attitude.
play like a pencil neck again.
Right.
Yeah, or he
Right.
didn't read the script too for
And
the
then he
beginning.
weird.
I think
became
we
a
talk
gym
about
bro.
this on the
Yes.
Full Metal
Yeah,
Jacket.
we do.
episode,
We definitely do.
Dana Barron, who is the daughter in the first one, I think was down to come back, but
Yes.
Heckerling was like,
If we have
Well,
to lose
let's-
one of the kids, let's hard reset.
right, let's just.
But you end up with
recast
Blake
both.
Lively's brother, and then Dana Hill is her name?
Yes.
Who was an actress who had like a series of health conditions. She died weirdly young.
She died young, although I'm not sure she had like diabetes and that was what she died of. But she also had conditions that made her small.
Correct.
And
so
so
she's
she
like
played
22 in this
kids,
movie.
right?
And then years after
she also
this,
I
played
thought
Max.
I thought
she is the voice of Max Goof in Goof Troop.
Oh shit! By the way, Goof Troop and / a Goofy movie. When I first saw PJ on screen, I was like, "Oh my god, that looks like me."
Representation matters.
Yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
That cartoon character. The most recent one for me was Spike in the new Mario Brothers movie. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's my new version with
Guys,
the fucking aviators."
Can we talk about Bulk and Skull?
Of course, David. We've been waiting years to talk about Bulk.
Yeah, I recently, I'm sitting at work. I need to be writing for The Atlantic, which is my job. And I'm like, it's like a half-hour supercut of every single Mighty Morphin Power Rangers opening theme credits.
Yeah,
right?
really burning the midnight oil there.
You know what I mean? Where I'm like, gotta get cracking on that lead.
Nothing big happening at the Atlantic.
Yeah, just deleting my
Morphin-
Pete Hegseth text.
It is hilarious to me that Jeff, like, as this was all like came by, like he's always and I was like, Jeff, what do you think about burrata on pizza? And he stopped. He's like, what? And I was like, I just think it's bullshit. Like, don't put burrata on pizza. Like, it doesn't belong. Like, it's just, you're just eating like it's separate.
Does it make it too wet?
Yeah, but it's just all these fucking new pizza places where they're like, and we put a big glob of burrata on top. And I'm like, that's just like putting a cookie on
This
top.
is the conversation you're having with him while he's checking his phone and getting like nuke plans.
Jeff, but to his credit, he's like, yeah, I mean, I can see where, and he's like, do you think Prince Street Pizza is good? I'm like, no. Like, I start going off about
he
that.
throws that question out to the Signal group. Guys, what do you think of burrata on pizza?
Anyway.
Hegseth's a Stracciatelli fan.
Anyway, Bulk and Skull, similar.
Yeah.
What's the vibe? Why?
Please remind the
Okay,
listeners.
so Power Rangers. The cast of Power Rangers are of course the 5 Power Rangers, 6 once Tommy gets added, right? And they're teens with attitude who can morph into martial artists who command dinosaur robots.
Recut from a Japanese.
We don't need to get into
Sentai
that.
shows.
No, we're just talking about the text.
No, but what I'm saying is that you're building a show off of this martial
You're
arts
using
footage
this
and then
action
casting American
footage.
kids.
But-
You'll have the villains are set already, and the American producers Saban and Co. are like, we need to add more proprietary elements. What if we have like 2 dumb bullies who have nothing to do with the main plot line,
but are kind of their friends?
Yes.
They're like in their mid-30s also, maybe?
Exactly. And it's one of those things where they're like, they cycle through Power Rangers every couple seasons, right? Let's get these kids out of here. They're asking for us to like pay them and shit.
Yeah.
Like, they gotta go. Let's get a bunch of new teens. Bulk and Skull, always involved. Like, these new teens always know Bulk and Skull.
I'm just saying,
And
they're
then you're
inheriting.
like, as a kid,
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry,
forever.
my nostalgia, I'm like, right, do Bulk and Skull, they're kind of like, they're like Bebop and Rocksteady, they're
Right.
bad guys. So I'm like, wait, no, they're not.
They're
not
kind of
allied
allied.
with the bad guys.
Right.
They just live in the town.
They're just there.
They
because
happen to live in the
obviously-
same town as the Power Rangers
Right, and they're
and
just
dress
like,
crazy.
you know, and
They dress just crazy enough that they should be on a TV show.
But
where
this
it's
is
like,
why I'm bringing up the heritage, because I'm like, they can never overlap with the villains because they're inheriting villain footage that was
I
shot in
know,
Japan
I know.
15 years
Well,
earlier.
although
They'll sometimes shoot secondary stuff with a
Exactly.
different actress
They-
playing Rita Repulsa. I know.
Well, no, they recast Rita Repulsa and she becomes American, but like also they would have the kids fight the Putty Patrol in non. It's a weird.
Sure.
It's weird what they would
do both.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just weird. What do you think of Bulk and Skull?
I mean, I love that they're just basically personified fingerless gloves.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
they are leather vests as people.
But
Yeah,
why doesn't like Tommy Oliver ever go like, "Hey, we're gonna stop hanging out with you. We're like superheroes.
But in-
I'm going to cut your fucking head off with a magical space sword.
I can command a robot
or a
dragon
musical instrument.
that lives in the sea."
But meanwhile, they're like, don't give me a noogie, Bulk
Right.
and Skull.
That's what I don't understand.
But David, in the later seasons, because it sounds like what you're saying is they start to occupy a Jim's dad role, which is
Right,
like,
they're
what
kinda like-
connection do
right.
they have to the current cast? Why is Jason Biggs's dad still hanging out with different high schoolers?
Right.
They don't they don't buy the restaurant or anything, right? They
I
just
mean,
continue to
I
hang
can't
around.
speak to that, and obviously fans weigh in. What do Bulk and Skull do later? Of course, I do love that Wikipedia specifies that they came with their own theme, a quote fat guy tuba sound. Like that is the classic Bulk Ribbon.
We've been calling your twin boys Bebop and Rocksteady, but should we
Sure.
start calling them Bulk and Skull?
It's kind of works for them a little bit, I will say. One's a little bulkier. I mean, all babies kind of
Are mostly
very
skull.
scully.
Yeah, a lot of skull. Skull forward.
Anyway, but it's just crazy. Anyway, that's not important. What is important, of course, is that this film was shot in England at Twickenham Film Studios.
I like that they actually
and they
went.
started off with Stonehenge. That was their first sequence.
But I like it's a major feather in the cap for this movie, in my opinion. You look at the end credits,
Location.
different units.
Paris,
They
Rome.
actually went to the places.
Yes.
Obviously, some of it's faked, but they made sure that they spent some time on the ground in 4 different countries.
I've been thinking about stuff like this so much when I watch movies now. We watched an episode of 21 Jump Street for Action Boys, and that's all shot in like Canada and shit, obviously.
Sure.
But there's one scene where they go to an ice skating rink in this episode we watch, and I'm like, no show would say like we're not shooting one scene at an ice rink.
Right.
We will stand behind glass and pretend like we're pointing at ice or whatever, but we will put in post cold breath or something like that. But they would, and I was just like, you used to just go to places. You used to make a case to want to go to places.
Like, here's just a microcosm, right? This movie has an establishing shot that they probably bought from some bulk like footage lot of the Eiffel Tower. Then you have a sequence atop the Eiffel Tower where they're clearly on a sound-staged Eiffel Tower balcony, right? And then I feel like the following scene after that, the Griswolds are eating outdoors at a cafe, and the Eiffel Tower is in the background of the shot, and you can tell it is not rear projection.
Right.
Or
they
like
stopped
a
and shot a scene in Paris.
Right. And I'm just like, it's not even the central focus of this. They are just sort of knowing it is actually worth the production value of having a shot where the Eiffel Tower looks real and Chevy Chase is also in the frame.
Like, if you pitch this movie now, they'd be like, we'll shoot it at Epcot.
Yeah, right. We'll shoot, we'll fucking shoot the entire thing in Bulgaria. And like, it'll just be Paris, it'll be Rome, it'll be, but.
I heard the reason that Bulgaria is like one of the #1 film locations is because it's the permitting process to build structures is insanely easy. So you can just like slap up houses and castles or enemy bases, like whatever you need. You could just put shit up. That's probably like high risk.
Yeah. Well, same with Hungary. They'll let Laszlo Toth build anything there.
They won't let him talk in his real accent. They'll have to bring the fucking computers in. Everything's computed.
Brody was way more Austrian. They had to Hungary it up. Just the little sliders.
He was off base.
Can we up the Hungarian? Lower the luffs. I played an engineer for a podcast for 30 episodes, and I still don't know anything about it.
You don't know any of the lingo?
I only know luffs, and I'm not even positive what it means. I just am obsessed with that phrase.
What's a luff?
One of the all-time great characters.
Heckerling. She hated making this movie.
Great. I wonder why.
I was extremely miserable working on it. I figured they'd market it and put money into it and try and make it do well. Here's another quote from her. Oh my God, I despised that movie. I felt like I never wanted to do it ever again. Heckerling. Here's another quote from her. These are all different interviews. I feel like you're not supposed to badmouth your own stuff because you're the director. You should take the blame for everything. So I take the blame for Chevy Chase and everything else. Feels like she's
take the blame for Chevy Chase
exactly.
that is one of the best Hollywood answers I've ever heard. Look, I'm a director. I'm supposed to take all the credit. I'm supposed to, take the blame. So I take the blame for Chevy Chase, my lead, who's a piece of shit.
I'll take responsibility for, I don't know, how poorly Chevy Chase was raised or something.
Final quote. It was a train wreck. It was impossible. Some of the people I had to work with were impossible.
Wonder who.
Interesting. I'd call the studio head and say, I want to come home. You should find someone else to do this. A monkey could direct this better than I could.
Look, so before we dig into the meat of it, I just want to throw it as an anecdote. Christopher Columbus was hired to direct Christmas Vacation, right? He talked about this recently when he was doing interviews, I feel like, for Nosferatu.
Christopher Columbus, who is, by the way, the most affable person in Hollywood.
I feel like is basically commonly accepted as there is no one more genuine than Chris Columbus, right? Like that is just a genuine mensch, sweet, smart guy. And John Hughes was like one of his mentors along with Spielberg. And
obviously,
was like,
he made Home Alone.
I'm coming back. I'm writing the next Vacation movie. I think you should direct it. Gets him hired for the job. He meets with Chevy Chase. He talks to him for like, this is his recounting recently, for like 30 minutes through like his vision for the film and what he wants to do. Chevy just sits there silently. And at the end of it goes, I don't get it. So you're like the director?
What a great guy.
And he calls up John Hughes and he's like, I know I'm torpedoing my career, but I need to quit this. I cannot explain the way he like looked through me with disdain.
Ugh.
This guy's gonna torture me.
Who directed Christmas?
Jeremiah
check. Like they got some guy. Like Columbus had been prepping it and everything, and he basically was like, I'm sorry, I know you put your neck out for me, but I just can't do this. And John Hughes went, not only do I totally understand, but I'm gonna write another movie for you to help you get over this. And he gifts him Home Alone.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Which, to be clear, Columbus knocks out of the park. Yeah. It's not just right. Because Home Alone is a script I can see someone like really fucking
No,
that
Columbus
up. That is
nailed
a tight tonal thing of like, this movie's about this 6-year-old fucking laying waste to Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, but it has to like evoke the lovely spirit of Christmas, right? Like it's got to make you feel warm and happy.
I can't believe
inside.
we were just like spitballing Christmas movies.
Yes,
like
it's in
at
that
the beginning
tier.
of the episode, and we didn't even bring up Home Alone.
But that's like a perfect example of him being like, okay, I just
guess
worked
he's,
on
like,
Uncle
8
Buck.
years old.
Yeah.
This 8-year-old's on fire. I owe Columbus a movie. He's got a good take on Christmas. Give me 6 hours. I'll shit out some fucking screenplay.
Yeah. What a bullet dodge for Chris Columbus. That's
Incredible.
so fucking awesome.
Although, of course, maybe Christmas Vacation would have been a hit with him too. It was a hit for Jeremiah Chechik, who goes on to make Benny and June. Just sort of an interesting movie, and the Avengers with
and then his career
Sean
is kind
Connery
of
and
shot.
Ray
Oh, that
Fiennes.
Avengers.
That's a real career.
The Avengers. With Iron Man. Oh, I don't see Iron Man's name on this one. Interesting.
I like that this movie just starts right out with the game show, which is so bizarre.
Pig in a Poke.
Pig in a Poke, hosted by John Astin, playing like Richard Dawson from Family Feud times a trillion.
John Astin, really funny.
Really funny. A
love
little
to see that
upsetting
guy.
when he kisses Audrey.
It's immediately.
But
I'm
then
like,
you feel better now that I know
he's an asshole. I mean, the character.
you feel better once
wait,
you know that the actress playing the daughter is in her 20s.
Yes.
But you're like, right, this is a weird thing that was like culturally going on where everyone was like, yeah, the host of Family Feud's a little handsy and loves
Kisses
kissing
people on
women.
the lips,
and everyone watches this show. And then this movie heightens in a way that feels menacing, and it's the opening scene.
Yeah.
You start with this weird cartoon, them in these ridiculous costumes.
Well, and I just want to say, Gabrus, thank you for being down with wearing the pig costume. I'm a little disappointed that Sims
I thought we were
put it
all gonna
on.
have them on.
It's fine. I get it.
I'm glad Griffin's wearing the German the lederhosen, but like I thought we'd all be in the pig.
Well, that was just because it's laundry day.
So was Richard Dawson the handsy host?
Richard Dawson would always kiss all
on
the
the
women
lips.
on
Right,
Family
okay.
Feud.
And then it
come
was
on,
Ray.
little kiss for me here.
For me,
Like,
it was. I grew up watching. Sorry,
You're gonna have to say it.
Ray
Family
Combs.
Fortunes. Which is the British version of Family Feud, which was
hosted by Jeffrey Epstein. And he was kissing these kids.
hosted by the great Les Dennis, who's one of those guys where I'm like, any British person's like, yeah, I know Les Dennis. No American has ever heard of him.
Yeah, but also you had Jimmy Savile.
Why are you saying
I'm
you
not
had Jimmy?
blaming you. I'm just saying there was like the ultimate creep on British television
I
hosting
wasn't
panel
saying
shows. and
there
things.
weren't creeps on British television. What are you talking about?
I'm just talking about creepy guys.
What the fuck? Yes, we all know about.
Let's break down and talk about creeps in Hollywood. I mean,
Okay.
there's only a couple.
Yeah, Ben, can you put 5 hours on this?
But
schedule?
here's the thing about Family Feud. I'm sorry that I'm taking us on tangents again.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's fine. We're doing great.
Steve Harvey just kind of took that show, and turned it into something else. And now no one remembers like Louis Anderson or whatever. You know, right? Like everyone else is gone.
We had Louis, you had Ray Combs, you had
Richard Karn.
Right.
From Home Improvement.
You had didn't you have also what's his name from Seinfeld?
John O'Hurley,
John O'Hurley.
Jay Peterman.
Oh, right.
And like that's the thing, and that now everyone's just like, no, Family Feud has been hosted by Steve Harvey since 1900. Like, what are you talking about?
He used to be hosted by a baby with a mustache in 1970.
And like the answer is always like badonkadonk. Like they've always like engineered it. So
they came over with a pepper grinder full of horniness and were just like crank, 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 crank. And Steve Harvey's like, what thing do you want to put on your face at night? And it's like, my wife's pussy. And it's like,
and he's like,
oh man, that's crazy. Like, they're always so cute up.
He sells it so well every time that he's
What's
scandalized.
something men have in the morning? And it's like, morning wood.
Pussy.
He's like, oh, you are disgusting,
But it
brother.
takes-
It's the number one answer.
It takes about 30 seconds for him to say anything.
Yeah.
Yes, he does a little walk.
Yep.
He'll do like a circle.
Yep.
He'll be like, I don't know what the world is coming to. He does it so well every
But it
time.
also-
He's a fucking machine.
He's
He is
such a funny
so
person.
awesome to watch.
As long as you know, no pop-ins. But it also feels like that show used to be like top 5 answers, thing you put in your coffee.
Right.
And they'd be like, Richard, I'm going to say sugar. And he'd be like, okay, now how about you give me a tongue kiss? And now the show is like top 5 ways you love to eat
and
ass.
Steve Harvey's like, here we love family. Like this is this in this
Right,
on
the
this
bit
network.
now,
right?
it used to be like innocuous questions, horny host, right?
Right.
Now it's horniest questions, hornier answers, and the host is like, "Oh my goodness!"
But,
he
but
just
Harvey-
looks at the audience like, "I can't believe
the
they're
questions
saying
are
these
horny
things."
in a way that are pretending like you're a little kid and you're like, this is how you get away with.
But the
bringing
dynamic
this
is
up.
shifted to Harvey being like, "I can't believe they're
But Harvey,
saying this."
it's not like Harvey's. I wouldn't call him horny, but he respects a beautiful woman. You know, like he's got kind of that vibe to him. Yeah, exactly.
So your beautiful woman comes home from work, like he's that kind of guy.
Right.
Yeah.
When America finds people like this,
He
they,
calls
they
women
should,
queen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I know he wrote all the Think Like a Man, whatever books or whatever.
Well, that's how a
Yeah.
queen serves a king.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm sure
Well,
there's a couple things in them that are probably a little regressive if I had to look.
That's always the interesting thing for those guys who refer to women as queens. It's like, but I am the king.
You know I'm the king.
Right.
Like I'm not your
Right.
subject.
Right. It's the Prince Khaled.
It is
thing.
also so
DJ
funny
Khaled. I call him
whenever a
Prince
stand-up comedian is like, I want to write like kind of a romance book. And I'm like, aren't you a club comedian? What the fuck do you know about like regular romance?
Here's how
romance,
you
but, like,
fuck women out of
relationship.
town.
Right. His book wasn't even like, here's how you find a wife. It's like, here's how you keep a marriage fresh 40 years in.
Right, 'cause
women do what men like. That's his big take.
Anyway, game show. Funny.
Right.
Aston, I think, has good menacing, kind of sneery energy.
Yes.
The joke of them accidentally like beating the stupid Princeton family is
Paul
funny.
Bartel was like
Yeah.
one of the best
I love Paul Bartel.
smarmy, like elitists.
I love him.
Eating
Yeah.
Raoul, one of my favorite
The game-
80s movies.
The game of the game show makes no sense.
No sense.
You want to go?
Could not understand it.
I didn't understand. Like they don't even know that the prize is European vacation, but
No.
they're willing to give up the motorcycle and something. And then they do that, and then it's like, and great, we'll be bringing in the previous champions who haven't been on the
Right,
show
he
yet.
was like,
made
you've
it-
Right.
won.
Now
Do you want to
now
stay
they've
in
been
the
waiting
game or
for
cash
you to
out?
defeat them.
Yeah.
Right. It's very bizarre. I
love that they all have glasses. What a shorthand for like these are four smart people. Yeah.
It is my favorite running bit in the movie is Clark constantly saying to people, we were the big champions on Pick and a Poke.
Yeah.
That he starts using it when they're checking into hotels, but he starts doing it everywhere. Like he assumes in every country they'll know them by reputation.
And then only Moon Zappa does that.
Right.
That's such a
Of
funny
course.
moment. We're
Yeah,
like,
I love
I
that.
saw you.
But you're like, it's such a good, like, ugly American show
Yeah.
where you're like, they go to Europe thinking they're such hot shit because they won this big prize. But the prize
and the
actually
game is
sucks.
literally like, do you want more money, you greedy pigs?
Right.
And they're like, oink, oink, oink,
Right.
more money,
we make
more
you
money.
dress up like a cartoon
Yeah.
and then make sounds. Yeah.
Ben, any thoughts on the game show? I just feel like these movies are so important to you. I
Yeah.
don't want to breeze by anything.
I mean,
without-
I don't think
no
I have
good
much more to add other than
Okay.
it's just it's so unclear of how it works.
Well, I'll throw something your way that you might. I like, and movies used to have full blown animated opening credits.
Yes.
I'm happy that the in movie game show
Mhm.
has an animated opening
It's a way
credits.
they snuck it in there.
They, they leave Holiday Road for later in the movie because of this, right? Holiday Road comes over some car driving action.
Yes, I think so.
Holiday Road. We like Holiday
An
Road.
absolute fucking banger.
The vacation song.
Yes.
You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Holiday
sure.
Road.
I love
Lindsey
that.
Lindsey
Buckingham.
Buckingham.
Yeah.
that's good.
This movie has a couple of bangers because I love that song, and then like the Weird America song at the end is like really
that song
fun.
rules, and the end
yeah,
credits
that's,
are really funny.
Network.
It's
Yes.
the French song when they're doing the Louvre really fast.
Yes, that's a good one,
classic.
too.
Pour moi, I believe that.
Yes,
this
that's
all
a great
feels
song
like
for sure.
Heckerling influence too.
Because she's
Yeah,
hip.
it's got
She's hip.
cool.
She's
yeah,
cool.
she's got
Yeah.
the jam on there
Right.
and
And like
stuff.
Fast Times is one of the
Power
best soundtracks
Station,
in history.
yeah.
But I just would like to say I'm not tuning in for the songs
But
in
I'm
this
just saying,
movie.
like, I throw on fucking National Lampoon's Vacation, and that song starts playing over the credits, and I'm like, oh, I know this song. Like, I've heard this song before. I didn't realize this is from this movie,
Sure.
which it is.
Right.
It was
Holiday
made for this
Road.
movie.
No, it's that Lindsey Buckingham just had it, and he was like, I got this song, and they were like, well, that's like, can we have that song? That's perfect. Like, it was
Right.
just like
it was left over
rattling
in a
around.
pile. Yeah.
I
Anyway.
feel like Kilgore, the crazy bloody musical we used to do at UCB,
Oh, yeah,
ended
yeah.
with that song where
That
our curtain
makes
call. The whole thing is so morbid and like gross and violent, and then at the end it's like we take the curtain to Holiday Road.
Yeah.
And, like, it's a
When-
Halloween weekend and shit.
When Daly and Goldstein do the sequel thing,
Uh-huh.
the things they are like bringing in is like the car from the first
Right.
movie.
Yep.
Like Chevy Chase is like, we've still got it. And the fucking song. That's all
Right.
they've got.
Well, that's what's also interesting is like the Vacation franchise has spawned a bunch of like unofficial remakes and sequels. Like it's such a basic template that you're like, Little Miss Sunshine is like Fox Searchlight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
it's like
indie
indie,
vacation.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Then there's
yeah.
like the Cedric the Entertainer Johnson family vacation.
Sure,
That
right.
very much feels like him walking into Fox and being like, I just want to do my own vacation.
Yeah, they wanted to call it National Lampoon's Black Family Vacation,
Right.
but they went with Johnson instead.
But there's,
Without
like,
a
lot
paddle?
of, like
Without-
Without
yeah.
a paddle is like vacation meets Caddyshack.
But I think like RV is like very much a vacation.
Yeah.
movie.
now,
We're the
what kind of a
Millers.
summer
We're the Millers.
is had in RV?
I have like a 5-inch.
Okay.
This is one of my favorite things to reference is in RV Josh Hutcherson as Robin Williams' son.
Who is, of course, a borrower.
Yes,
Like,
it's very
in
sad that all
stature.
the other kids make fun of her for being so short. And Robin Williams tells him an endearing story about how he used to be short. And then one year he had a 5-inch summer. And when he came back to school, they couldn't pick him on him anymore. And I'm like, Robin Williams is 5'6" on a good day.
He was.
Robin Williams isn't exactly towering over anybody.
It's a
That's a good-
5-inch summer.
I had like a 3.5, 4-inch summer, and it was the summer before freshman year of college.
Wow.
I got it in
Some
between
kids-
high school and
some
college.
kids grew up really. Yeah, I
My
remember
dad
that.
was
It might
6'5",
actually be
and
a
he said
6-inch
his
summer.
My,
Yeah, I
my
gotta
dad
look
was
this up.
6'5", and his spurt, he said, was when he was 19, and I was like, I was like 5'9" or 5'10" in junior year of high school. I'm like, I would love if I got. And then all of a sudden, I went away to fucking college, and I was 6'2", and I was like, yes.
I remember.
And then I went from like short and fat to tall and not fat, and then now I have the frame to just keep adding fat to it.
That's
I put on the freshman 15
You and me, baby.
every year for fucking 20 years. I'm like,
Sorry, I just Googled it. In RV, he claims that he had a 9-inch summer.
That's what I thought. It was even bigger than
Oh,
5.
Jesus.
Right. So
I had,
so Robin
that's, what,
Williams.
that's what I had on Confess Fletch with John Hamm.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. He got it out.
Yeah.
You were like, come on, John.
Come on, Confess
let me
Fletch.
see. Um,
I hit a water buffalo on the ride over.
Great movie. The first chunk of it is set in jolly London.
Well, first we
guys.
set up, of course, that Rusty is horny as hell, and the only thing he cares about is figuring out how to get laid in some capacity.
And he kind of wants to be a pop star, but he doesn't want
Right.
to sing. He just wants to like walk through a
Wants
music
to
video.
act like hot shit. He loves
Audrey's-
MTV.
Meanwhile, Audrey's thing is that she has a boyfriend, so she wants to stay skinny for the boyfriend. It's pretty thin.
And her boyfriend is the bully from Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Or the bully from Just One of the Guys.
Yes.
Or the bully
Zabka.
from Cobra Kai.
Yes.
Or the redemptive bully from Cobra Kai.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the preeminent bully of the 1980s in American cinema.
Great fucking guy. Like just
yeah, it's like a mensch, right?
he's
yeah.
he was a great person by all accounts.
Yeah.
But at this time, he was such a good shorthand for like
Yes.
because he's just fucking towhead kind of
right.
smarmy
He
looking
looks
face. Yeah.
like he's going to
And
beat
he
you up.
owned
He
it.
looks like the kind of guy you don't want your daughter kissing at
Right.
dinner.
But I feel like a lot of guys like this would play this part one time and being like, "Ugh, I refuse to play it again. And this guy was like, look, I'm in movies.
right. Like,
You want to keep paying me to do this, I'll
Yeah.
do this.
I look a specific way. You know what I
Right,
mean?
I
Like
get
I
it.
look like a bad guy. Yeah.
And has had his like, full arc now coming back with Cobra Kai. But yes, all she wants to do is kiss. She hates the idea of going to Europe and being away from the kissing.
Right.
And everyone makes fun of her for eating too much.
Right.
A very sensitive plot line.
Yeah, exactly. Very,
Well,
very
especially the actor
normal
is like
80s.
suffering from diabetes, and they have to like force feed. Like she has,
Funneling cake down her mouth.
I know it's fucking weird. I do like this lighter fluid gag. I think that's like this is like kind of it's not very funny, but it is exactly like Vegas vacation. Vacation movie specifics.
Oh, you're saying with the grill.
Yeah, they don't realize that both of them have been putting it on the whole time.
Yeah.
Like while he's looking at the instructions, she's putting it on. When she's not paying attention, he's spraying it on.
And like it's little shit, but I love the commitment to like Chevy having to remain on screen for 5 minutes with the ash outline
yeah.
around the goggles.
Yeah, that's look. I just like so. This movie has 4 sections: London, Paris, Germany, Rome. Right, like those
Yes.
are the 4, and it feels like they spent a good half hour on each, figuring out what stereotypes they should do. Right, like
for sure.
an easy like 20 minutes on like okay. It's just interesting to me that for London, they more pick up on like dirt bags.
Yes.
Versus like it's not what you think maybe of like the most obvious stereotype of like like posh people drinking tea and
what I
shit.
love
They
is-
do a Queen bit.
They do a Queen bit. They do a people in England are weirdly nice. bit,
That's
too.
the interesting
yes.
zag.
Yeah.
Like
You expect
everything
that they'll
about
be
it,
big timing the Griswolds and looking their nose down at them.
right? And
it's
instead they're excessively polite. Like none of them are not. Like they are existent stereotypes.
Sure.
They're just not quite the ones you would have figured.
Especially of the time.
But it might be my
Yes.
favorite bit in the movie is him continually damaging people's cars and then being like, oh, don't worry about it.
Right.
Hey, take this back to New York with
I
you.
also
When they give him, he gives him the bumper. They
Right.
put it in the car.
Add
they
it
get
to the collection.
And
wait,
Mel
all-
Smith,
yes.
who is a
legendary sketch guy.
brilliant
Yeah.
British comedian. He died a while ago, but
Great
like a
look on
king.
him.
Right. very funny as the hotel manager, but right, they're not doing the do behave like far too fancy thing. No, instead he's this like Cockney sort of.
They're not
cheat.
doing the well I never, which is the most obvious thing to go to, which I give them credit for doing. I'm like, they're doing
to be
kind of
clear,
weird
this
zags.
is not
It's not
sensitive or right.
Yeah.
or,
but they're avoiding the
three-dimensional.
most overplayed version of the bit, which is they walk in and they don't know how to hold the teacup, and everyone's like, "Ew."
Right.
I don't want to be already jumping back, but the 4 dreams on the plane.
Okay,
are-
actually, I forgot about the dreams.
No,
What
worth
are the
talking
dreams?
about.
Okay.
They are very it's a very funny, simple, ham-fisted way to just establish
Lay
your
out the
character's
characters.
interiority.
But
Yeah.
you've noticed, like, this is a runner in Heckerling. She's really good at these dream sequences. You have Spicoli on the beach.
Sure.
Right.
You have Luke who's talking has incredible dream sequences.
Yes, it does.
Right.
And
Her,
fantasy,
like, projecting-
images.
right.
Right. Yeah.
And then so in this one, it's Beverly D'Angelo dreams of meeting the Queen, but in her dream, Princess Di wants to fuck Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And
which
that's
is
exciting
such a
to
funny
her.
specific, and she's into it. In Rusty's dream, he's a pop star on the Rusty World Tour and kind of just walking around like sexy dancers. And this also feels like Heckerling because it's a very specific, it's almost like
Kind of new wavy.
ballroom.
Right, yes.
It's very progressively seeming. And then Audrey wants to be in the fucking Homer Simpson hell feeding machine kind of thing. And then what was Chevy's dream?
Chevy's dream. Oh, Chevy's dream is Sound of Music.
Right.
That he wants to go back
Right.
to his German family.
Right.
And he's in full lederhosen.
Which is maybe a joke they need to hit more.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little
I
under...
also think
Right.
Chevy's dream should have a European woman in it.
Yes.
Right, but he's not as
He's less
horny in
horny.
this.
No.
He's only horny, and not to move backwards again.
But for his wife.
He fucking makes his wife
do a sex tape.
But what she does, Let's Misbehave.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
Right.
does a whole
And then he
fucking-
fucks her on camera,
Yeah.
and then it gets distributed in theaters.
This is a plot of the film. This is undeniable. What I like about
He's
Vacation
so
is
horny for her. in this.
What I
Yeah.
like about Vacation is
Yeah.
their relationship is genuinely sexual, and
Yeah.
she's hot, and Chevy Chase is
He's a
hot.
handsome
Yeah. You
He's-
understand why they both with each other.
Yep.
Right. He still has the flirty fantasy. He has the dream of the dalliance with Christy Brinkley.
He takes her to the Moulin Rouge.
Right. Well, no,
Oh,
that's
right.
in this movie. I'm just saying in the first movie. Right.
Yes.
But then, like, his wife takes him back without too much fuss. There's just a stability to it that actually kind of feels realistic to me.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, "You fucking asshole!"
You
Like, it's
idiot.
sort of like
Yeah.
right. This one, it's a little off.
Mhm.
I think it's what Heckerling and Beverly D'Angelo, in between like having dinner with the Duke or whatever, are
Mhm.
saying of like, no one figured out what the formula was. They just
Right.
had to do another one.
Yeah.
And so obviously you have the general formula of like, look, funny things will happen to them on vacation, but it's been downgraded from R to PG-13, and everyone's lost a little bit of like what their bit is.
But the first one is such a straight line of they're just trying to get to Wally World. It's
Yes.
a road trip to a theme park, and the worse things get, the more insistent he is that they need to get there and have fun.
Right.
Whereas this, it's just like
They try that with
we
this.
want a trip, which I like that it's like they're being given something, so you're not like, how the fuck can they afford
Well, it's
this?
also like they
Right.
get to be poor.
They get to
Yeah.
be poor, and they get to constantly be disappointed by their treatment for a grand prize winners.
Right. And that's kind
Which
of that's a fun kind of inside baseball
Totally.
thing of
It's like
yeah.
a good setup of dynamics, in my opinion, but it is a nasty one.
yeah.
Right? I
yeah.
just want to quickly call out a woman named Jeanette Charles, who is the actress who plays Queen Elizabeth in Beverly D'Angelo's fantasy sequence.
Yes.
She just left us last
At the age of 96.
June, at the age of 96, and I want to list some of her credits.
Right. She played the Queen a lot, right?
In The Naked Gun from the Files of the Police Squad, she plays Queen Elizabeth II.
A big role.
In Austin Powers and Goldmember, she plays Queen Elizabeth II.
Yep.
In Nancy Meyers' The Parent Trap, she played Queen Elizabeth II, deleted scene. She was often referred to as, quote, the Queen's most famous lookalike. What a life. We have talked about in the past, I think especially doing the Indiana Jones episodes recently, certain character actors who have the misfortune of looking like Adolf Hitler. And talk
Yes.
about a William Zabka analog. They're like, look, you can work forever.
Yeah, here's your fucking monkey's paw.
But your monkey's paw is, you're going to be gluing on that mustache a lot.
We on Action Boys, we all stumble across a character actor that we're like, this guy is in everything. Let's look at his resume. And then when you read his IMDb, it's like he plays like Big Dale, Beef, Chunk, Bar Tough, bouncer, you know, and it's just like this big heavyset guy who's got to be in 50 movies as assorted bikers, you know, and you're like, oh,
man,
hell of a career.
What a fucking life Jeanette Charles got to have of just like jumping into comedies being like, oh, hello, and just like hitting them with the sword on the shoulder.
These are my favorite careers to like wrap my head around. Like when you find someone's like, yeah, I stand in for so and so in all their commercials, and I make the residuals, and you're like, what? You're like, you make 6 figures a year without ever being seen on camera, and you just have to have the same haircut as the lady whose commercial it is.
Nice work if you can get it.
Yeah,
your fake flow.
Yes, dude.
Yeah. Your overflow.
Faux flow.
Faux flow. We're both good. We're both good. We both got there. It's good alts. We have options.
Ben, you can use these in the edit however you need. We'll do a little line-orama in honor of Apatow.
Okay, so first proper stop. Yes, is jolly old England.
Is England. So right. So the gags are, as we say, there's the Queen gag, which they get in via fantasy. The hotel is shitty, which I'm sure in England in the 80s, by the way. Yes. Like I'm sure any regular ass hotel would have been so
part of that fun gag is that the name is like the Westminster Arms Luxury Suite Resort or whatever, and it's just like a hostel where they have to share a fucking hallway bathroom and
you
shit.
get into full cartoon shit in Christmas Vacation, I feel, which like starts to have like Looney Tunes logic of like who can survive what level of physical.
Yeah, like you
this
can get
gets
electrocuted.
extreme.
Right. And I think like the first one is a little more grounded in physicality. And this one, like Heckerling's sort of building a bridge that maybe pays off better in Christmas Vacation of like Chevy getting into the bed and the bed immediately collapsing like he's in a Looney Tune.
Yeah, very funny moment.
I like Robbie Coltrane, R.I.P.
Robbie Coltrane is great. I mean, again, playing a big old galoot, you know, who's causing trouble.
Walking in on Bev in the bath. Yeah.
But the other gags are hard to get out of a roundabout. These feel like American impressions of England.
Yeah, driving
on the wrong side.
Driving on the wrong side and then not getting out
it's
of the
a crazy
roundabout.
it must have been to try to map the first movie on it so much. The fact that it's driving through Europe is like less of a vacation than you think to win a prize.
Right.
Like you're like and you get to rent a car and drive through Europe.
But you're right.
That's frustrating.
They must have locked in like this is one of the 4 cornerstones of the franchise. They have to be in a car.
Yeah.
Right.
There are not a lot of shots of them in the car though. It's weird. You would think you would have like some of those like I love that like in the Wally World one where it's like the direct on and Chevy's driving and it's like clearly he's just trying to hold it all together.
Yes.
We don't get any of that.
Yeah.
We establish Eric Idle in this as the guy
he's a good runner.
I love him in this.
Yeah, he's funny. Yeah. Right. He's like a biker they keep knocking over.
He says flesh wound. He quotes his own gag, which is always fun.
Eric Idle, I think, has always been the member of Monty Python the most. Just kind of like, you want me to do something? I'll fucking do it.
Well,
he's pretty egoless.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Name drop time. I went to a party at Drew Carey's house once as a friend of a friend, and Eric Idle was there. Yeah. And I was like, man, I thought Drew Carey was going to be the most interesting, famous person here at Drew Carey's house, and it's not. Eric Idle hanging by the bonfire, cracking like 8 people up, like just fucking bidding.
I love him.
It is one of those things that's so fascinating within the structure of Monty Python when those guys talk about how they came together and they were like, oh, there were like a couple overlapping circles of like 2 different university sketch groups and then this and that. And then like the time we went in to pitch the show to the BBC was the first time we had ever presented ourselves as like that specific group.
Yeah, it's like Terry Jones and Michael Palin are one thing, and Graham Chapman, John Cleese, and Eric Idle are
the fascinating thing, yes, correct. Yeah, but also when they talk about it, they're like, well, like Palin and Jones would write together, and Chapman and Cleese would write together.
Palin and Jones are Oxford, Chapman and Cleese are Cambridge, not to be. Yeah.
And Idle would just write by himself.
Yeah,
he was always like, I just did stuff solo.
Too.
I basically,
I know this one basement psycho named Terry who I think should join us too.
I mean, honestly,
he's making fucking cutouts of feet that stomp on people.
Right, it's like, and we'll let him stay next to us sometimes.
that shit's funny though. I'll say it.
I love
Monty Python. Still pretty good.
Holy Grail is like one of the funniest movies of all time, and even the later ones are bangers. But Holy Grail is I love Arthurian Legend, so it's like one of the
sure.
Yeah,
I'm with you that I think Holy Grail is the best because I just like them more in pure joke mode than like I love Life of Brian, but like I honestly don't need any plot.
Sure, but Meaning of Life is like a sketch movie.
Yeah, Meaning of Life is weird. I don't love that movie, but I love things in
I think
it.
I like the weirdness. It's also, I think,
It's
I love it now
That
for
movie's
something
scary.
completely
Scary.
different, which
Yes.
is a true sketch movie.
Well, that's
Right,
also,
right.
yeah,
That's a pure-
just fun
yeah.
Monty Python sketches.
Yeah.
Right. What could be wrong with that, really?
but Idol's got, because you've already set up the bit of, the British men are being weirdly polite and nice about their cars
So
getting
he's the
fucked up.
third beat of that.
But then he's doing this really good job of like not being passive aggressive, but seeming not okay.
Yeah.
Like he
He's
keeps
bleeding out of his
assuring him,
knees.
like,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
And when he picks his arm up and the blood comes gushing out, is
Right.
very fucking.
But there's something like a little damaged in him.
yes.
Yes.
The big set piece is them knocking over Stonehenge, like
Which
dominoes.
look obvious, but like
It's right there.
it's satisfying.
Have any of you been to Stonehenge?
I just went last year.
Did you enjoy it?
Whoa.
It was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, Stonehenge is one of those things that's a little underwhelming.
But here's the
Having
thing
been
that
there.
was crazier is that when I went, it was barricaded.
It was Ted Lasso's
You-
wedding, right?
I went when you still could go near it, but
This
now
was I was
That's why the
I think
effects,
people
the
just throw
episode was
soup on
dropped
it
late because
and
they had to
shit.
comp Ben in at the last second.
Truly, though, they used to just let people drive up to the fucking thing.
That's what we did. I mean,
And hang out and smoke cigarettes
I
like
think-
underneath the
They
fucking
used to, like,
Stonehenge.
Griswold fucking back his car and knock him down like fucking
Man,
dominoes.
I would love to fucking candy flip at Stonehenge.
well, the other
Hell yeah.
Just lie in the middle on a fucking heroic dose of mushrooms and fucking channel druidic
Oh my
powers.
God.
as you
And you know the fucking sun lines up.
it sure
Dude,
does.
we got time that with the peak. Let's go. Let's go
Shit.
back.
All right, fuck yeah.
The thing with Stonehenge that you I'm sure realize is it's like an hour and a half from London.
Mhm.
It feels like it should be like, you have to go through an ancient portal to
Yeah.
get there. And
You
instead
have
you're
to
like,
take
it's like in the suburbs.
It's just off the fucking highway.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you go there.
It's
Like in,
and
Amer-
you're
like in England, they get Stonehenge. Here we have like the world's largest cow or whatever.
I was going to say it's basically the distance from like Times Square to medieval Times, New Jersey.
like you go there and you're like, look, I get it. These are very old and it's crazy that they're here and Lord knows what they were for. That's cool. But then you're kind of like, okay, so I looked at them. I
Right.
think I'm done. Like
Look,
you
yeah.
don't
It's
feel
also-
like you're communing with nature.
Let's call out they're very old, but I think they've had some work done. It's good work. It's classy work.
Yeah, it's Wegovy
It's
and
the Paul
Ozempic.
Rudd work, but it's a little touch up here and there.
The one thing I
Subtle.
did learn from going there that I had never heard before is that what you're seeing on the surface, there is so much more underground.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like an iceberg.
But
Well, that just means that they're like that all adds layers of complication to how did they do
that,
this.
exactly. Because they dragged it from fucking Wales. And so what you're seeing is actually almost twice as big.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
well,
that's
now
wild.
there's like the new meme that the pyramids go down like 1,000 meters below the surface now too. People believe like,
Oh, this is just something people are saying
Yeah,
on
like-
TikTok and people are like, must be true.
yes, yeah, that's like a thing that will have to be debunked, or
Apocalypse
someone will
is
bring a
down
gun to the pyramid and be like, "Where are the children?"
I know you're hiding kids in here.
Yeah.
God, basement of the pyramid shit. It's going to be so exhausting. Cold
Pee Wee
Front.
No,
Herman
that's-
finds
to
out
me-
there is no basement in the pyramid.
That's
Hey, good
that
Pee-wee.
actually, I think we should encourage this. I think we should get the pedo hunters to go to the pyramids because they'll just get like lost in there and die,
Trap 'em.
right?
Yeah.
Like this is good.
Yeah.
No one's in there.
Yeah.
Just funnel them in there.
This
Yeah.
guy was buried with his child bride.
Yes.
It's time to
Right,
fucking.
exactly. Tutankhamun, you are canceled.
Right,
You had like 18 wives.
right. Was he himself a child? Yeah. That's,
We're gonna have to unpack all this.
yeah.
So are there other London things we need to address?
No, I think we
There's
based.
not a lot of meat on these bones, okay? Paris.
Yeah.
Begins with them losing
One I like the small bit of them being like, no one helps us carry our bags, and
Sure.
Mel Stewart just going like, "Mom." I also think all of there's I'm sorry, there's the polite people and the scumbags, as you said, right? Every British scumbag in this section, their accent is like when I do a British accent and you go, "What is that?" No one sounds like that. When I do my like, "Hey, is it voice? Is it
Nobody
voice
sounds
on?
like
Hey,
that. It's just insane.
is it bubbles?"
You need help with your bags,
Yeah,
you
my BFG voice. Is it
Right.
fuzzy wimples?
Now, my favorite gag in Paris. Well, it's a good question. I like the rude waiter. Again, Route 1 very
But
obvious.
look, it's Route 1 because everyone wants to stop there.
Yeah, like subtitled insults to a like Chevy going like, yeah, like
Yes.
smiling. That's funny.
Yeah.
Is it England or here that has the horny couple that is kissing? At
That's Paris.
That's Paris.
Where Rusty is like, his hands are her boobs, right?
Yeah.
Like you're like that he's
which is
Doesn't
another
he
kind of
say he's-
Parisian stereotype that it's like
right.
this-
And
yeah.
Chevy's like, yeah, standards are different here.
Doesn't he say
you know?
he's gonna pork her?
Yeah, he's not gonna pork her, Russ.
I like that bit of him being like, they're gonna go all the way here at the table.
Chevy is always good when he's trying to even things out, right?
Yes,
When he's
yes.
trying to be like, well, that's just how they do it here. Like that's usually funny.
It's
One of
also-
my
yes.
favorite Chevy line deliveries in the vacation movies that I think is kind of like a archetype of his delivery is in Christmas Vacation when the woman's like, and you see the line goes all the way up the stocking, and he's
Yes.
like salivating, and he's like, you see the line goes all the way up the stocking, Russ. Hi, Russ. Like, you know, like he has like those two levels of awareness that he can play
he's
with.
got an interesting relationship with Rusty in terms of being like, is it time for me to like teach my son how to be a man?
Yeah.
Where you have the like sharing a beer moment in the first one,
Right.
where Rusty like downs the beer too fast. In this one, Rusty's like, I get it. I'm a grown up. I have a job. Let me fuck.
Yeah.
And he's like, cool it. And then Galecki in Christmas seems like 7 years younger.
Yeah, he's like a child.
He is
Yeah.
definitely younger than Hall and Lively, but also looks even younger than he is,
Right.
and is played like a little boy.
Yeah.
and
Whereas-
it's just like, Dad, don't be horny around me.
Again, in Vegas, the joke by Ethan Embry becomes mistaken for a Greek millionaire and
Yeah.
basically like has his own side movie where he's
Because
having
he uses
adventures.
a fake ID
Yeah.
to gamble and then wins a jackpot and becomes like a whale, but then his
Right.
name is Nick Papagiorgio.
Right.
So
This
like Mr.
sounds-
Papagiorgio, the usual, and he's like, you got it. He's
It
got like
is
a yellow suit.
by
He's
far
hanging-
the best shit in the
I mean,
movie.
like,
He's hanging with all old guys the whole time. They're getting back row. It's all like he gets to have old timey Vegas.
It is a
Yeah.
bit
right.
I basically always find funny, which is like, guy gets too deep into a character
Into
he
a bit,
created
right.
circumstantially.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
exactly.
That's always funny. But then Vegas Vacation also has Beverly D'Angelo is romanced by Wayne Newton, which is deadly.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sure.
bad.
It's
Right.
so bad. I will give the Clint Howard dealer that absolutely ruins.
It's
Chevy
Wallace
Chase.
Shawn. It's
Oh,
Wallace Shawn.
I get
And
those
it
two.
is
I
so funny.
I flip those two
Yes.
guys so frequently. I'm
Yes.
so sorry
It's
to
the
my
difference
bald
between
little
this
freaks.
and this.
Bingo. Yes.
He's like, there's a line in Vegas Vacation where Wallace Shawn says, "Why don't you just give me half your money? I'll take you out back, kick you in the nuts, and we'll call it a day." Because Chevy
'Cause he
just
keeps
keeps
busting.
losing money to him,
Yes.
and they keep playing dumber and dumber games.
That's kind of a good line. Yeah. I gotta
so
watch this.
France, what else happens? The dog
takes him
going off
to-
the Eiffel Tower is pretty funny.
Yeah, another like you know it's gonna happen, but
Yeah.
it still hits.
Ben seems a little dispirited though. You're kind of like, yeah,
The camcorder is
getting
very,
stolen.
like,
Got to get that
lame.
ball rolling.
Yeah.
Right.
I do like the how slow the build is on like the French guy saying like take off your shoes, get
Yeah.
in the fountain, and then running off. and then-
when in
right,
France.
Right, waiting
yeah.
like 40 minutes until you pay it off with the poster of like this thing is in theaters already.
The wet woman or whatever.
Yeah. You have like Rusty getting like embarrassed by the embroidered beret.
Oh yes.
I mean, anytime you would go on vacation with your parents, it was always that thing of when you hit that certain age, you're like, can I hook up with the girl
The
on this
PTR
trip?
guys talk about this all the time, and I relate to it so hard. Is like being awkward guys, right? And then going on a vacation with your family and being like, no one knows me here. What if I catch the glance of the most beautiful woman in the world and I'm starting from nothing?
Yeah. There's no
Clean
baggage.
slate,
You know
no
nothing about me.
baggage, and we just have some like doomed romance over 2 days. Like I do think it's like a good setup to have Rusty on the movie where they're going to be making the most stops
Yes.
to just be losing his fucking mind with horniness.
It's hyper realistic.
Totally.
Like it's just like, you know, I mean, like that vibe is so real.
yes,
And it doesn't happen as well it happens better for Rusty than it ever did for me.
absolutely.
But I've definitely been on like a family vacation where another family that my mom's friends
Oh, yeah.
with, they come, and one of the daughters who's kind of like a cousin to me, so we can never hook up, but she brings a friend
Oh,
from
and you're
school.
like, the
and all of a sudden
possibilities.
I'm like, okay, anything can fucking happen.
Right.
And then I just spend 6 days standing
Exactly.
near her in the pool, like not saying anything.
Your mind
and then going
is-
home and being like, furiously masturbating while my parents are asleep in like the bathroom or
Your
something.
mind is suddenly reeling with the possibilities of how you can fuck this up by doing nothing.
Right. The frequency in which I would be like, I think I'm attracted to this girl. I think she might even be into me.
Right.
What I should do is absolutely nothing for the entire
Say
week.
2 words to her over the next 5 days, and
I'm like
shake.
famously
Physically
a gabber.
vibrate.
Yeah, I'm famously talkative, very funny, and
Right.
I am even as a kid. And a woman will come over and I'll be like, and just stand there, just pissing in the pool, looking at her.
But first of all, like Beverly D'Angelo making the big plea to like, wouldn't it be nice if we just like stayed in and had like a private night? And Chevy's like, no, I got to show you a night out in the town. Hard cut to like Moulin Rouge show, this like bad Flashdance riff, and he's trying to frame it as like, this is this country's legacy. They've been
it's
doing
art.
the worst modern striptease, and being like, here, this is culturally important, and then Rusty in the corner, like being like, I have money, I can pretend to be an American playboy.
Yeah, there's that vacation vibe of like when you go someplace where when you're in your 20s, you get wasted on every vacation.
Sure.
But then for me, like I went to Munich, and we'll get to this when we talk about Germany. I went to Munich Oktoberfest for my bachelor party, and now getting wasted is you're participating in culture.
Right.
It's like going to Amsterdam, like, yeah, I love smoking weed. It's like, well, when in Amsterdam, you got to smoke
When
weed.
in Rome,
you got to go to the red light
get
district.
wasted as the Romans do.
Right, exactly.
You've literally also made a career out of this. Like you did a show that is that premise.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh man,
Great show. Check
thank
it out.
you.
Where's it now? Streaming on Max?
Still on Max. Yeah,
yeah.
we are not making a we don't
Seeing
cost
any
enough to
dollars.
get canceled.
You haven't
Okay,
been
good, okay,
zazzed
good,
yet.
good,
Yeah,
good.
we can't get zazzed. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get them successful enough that Zaslav's like, get this off my fucking
Yeah,
platform.
sell it to Ketchup.
Dream come true. I got Ketchup Entertainment come through.
It's streaming on
Can I
Ketchup
give you
Minus.
some CinemaCon news?
Yeah.
Number one, this will depress you a little bit. John Wick 5.
I've gotten
confirmed.
7 texts about this. I could tell that's what people were
Number
responding
2,
to.
Donnie Yen will be directing a spin-off about his character.
Okay, that was previously
Sounds
announced,
kinda
but he's
fun.
now directing it.
I
Okay.
like that.
I'm like, any excuse for Donnie Yen to get to make a big American
Yeah, like a
movie.
Hong Kong style American action movie.
Sure.
Number 3, Now You See Me 3 has been officially titled Now You See Me, Now You Don't.
Okay.
Not now you three me?
Not Now You
They
Free Me.
fucked this up
Exactly.
so
Obviously,
hard.
2 should have been Now You Don't. They're scrambling to fix their mistake.
But
It's the same. What other movie? Bad Boys
Bad
fucked
Boys
up
fucked
their
this up.
lineage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in fucking up last time, they're now correcting and missing a new opportunity
Yeah.
that won't exist for the fourth
Now you
one.
can't be now you three me. Yeah.
They can't be Now You For Me.
Well, anything is possible.
Anything.
in
You know what?
modern
You're right.
Hollywood.
Anything is possible.
I went to Italy to shoot the movie Little Hours that my friend R.I.P. Jeff Baina
Yes.
directed.
Yeah.
And while there, me, Pally, and Nick Offerman had a day off. Baina knew the area so well because they were shooting there for so long. He's like, you got to go to this little restaurant. It's like more or less a deli.
Mhm.
And it was like one of the best meals I've ever had.
I
We
love a
were
story
there for
like
like
this.
3
Yeah.
hours. We're eating. Guy comes up on a 80-year-old guy comes up on a Vespa with a prosciutto leg, takes it. The guy cuts it off and hands it to us. We're just eating out of his dirty hands. We're eating this prosciutto. It's so good. But this guy, his favorite movie was Now You See Me Too.
Hell yeah.
And Dave Franco is in the Little Hours.
Oh,
So
yes.
this guy had been, and I was like, it's so funny. And he's like, my favorite American movie. And he's telling, and he's in broken English talking about Now You See Me. He's like, they are magicians and thieves. And I'm like, I do actually like these movies. And I go like, Dave, this guy is in, because he's showing me clips from the movie on his iPad like a child. Like, isn't this cool? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. I go, this guy's in this movie. He's like, I know. He came into the restaurant and I brought it up to Dave. Dave's like, yeah, no, he's a big fan. I was like, that is such a funny thing to travel overseas is Now You See Me. Now you overseas me.
They should do that. There you go.
We had a little we did a Blank Check anniversary art show recently for our 10th
I saw.
anniversary, and a bunch of the people who work on the show with us, we went out and got dinner, and then we were like, let's come back here to the office and like get some beer and like project shit on the wall and watch music videos and do karaoke and whatever. So we went to the bodega around the corner to get beer, and
The one on
Yes.
yeah.
and like a bunch of us walk in, and the guy behind the counter is like, are you guys like a family or something? Because there was like our editor's kids were with us, but it was like a weird combination of people, right? All in sync. And Marie was like,
And this isn't a busy area at night too,
Correct.
where we are. Yeah.
and Marie was like, we work together. And he was like, oh, all in the same office? And she was like, we do a podcast. And he goes, oh, what's the podcast? He goes, it's about movies. And he goes, oh, you know what movie you should do an episode on? Do you remember what the first two were, Ben?
No.
I can't remember what they were, but it was like a thing
This is the worst tangent of all time.
I'm telling you it's going to pay off.
Okay.
It's like this, okay? He goes like, you should do an episode on like Shawshank Redemption or something.
Sure.
And which she was like, oh yeah, we might do that someday, you know? And then he was like, you should do an episode on like Unforgiven. And she was like, or he was like, have you done that? We were like, no. And he's like, come on, you haven't done Unforgiven, you haven't done Shawshank Redemption, you haven't done any
I
movies.
think Usual Suspects.
Oh, Usual Suspects was one.
Sure.
And then one of them was something like Shawshank or whatever. And he was so frustrated. He was like, what movies have you done? And then he turned around and he went, oh, I know which one you should do. Tokyo Godfathers.
Hey,
His
the
third movie
Satoshi Kon.
And we were like, we have done that.
Wow, he takes a fucking. He goes, all right, I missed these two over the plate pitches. Let me fucking swing way the fuck out
But he
here.
did
You're
like-
That's a
Ephus
home
pitch.
run. Yeah.
He did like 3 IMDb top 10s, and he was like, I don't understand what show could exist for this long and not cover those 2 movies. And then his third was Tokyo Godfathers. That's like being in a small Italian and the guy who carries the leg. Of
Now
meat
you
is
see
like,
me. Do.
right.
Duo.
That's my number 1 favorite movie.
Speaking of, no, let's do Germany first.
Yeah.
Well, of course, they go to the Moulin Rouge and there's lots of boobs. We
yeah.
do, right. Boob chat is the table's open for boob
I will
chat.
say, the aerobics aesthetic. I am of the age that
works for you.
It still works, and
Whereas it feels dated to me. It feels like some vintage. Yeah, Ben's making the same face.
But I like that throw. I love that. And whatchamacallit, The Substance. I was like, I'm back. Yeah, I'm so back.
Yes. It
I'm
felt
like-
very
the
substance
buns
like
of steel
yes,
imagery.
yes.
Right.
I was so into it when it came. When that, I was like, the movie is absolutely disgusting, and I was like, kind of hot though, right? And everyone's like, really? And I was like,
Yeah.
Demi Moore and Quali are beautiful women in this very fun aesthetic that I like. So it's fun to see that at Moulin Rouge. Also, it is funny because that feels so American, like that exercise tape thing, and that's like what they're doing at
Right.
Moulin Rouge.
Right.
Yes.
And Rusty's in the back with fucking.
Well, that's a good
just a guy
bit.
with a prostitute. That's what happens here.
That it like starts with like a seedier riff on like French Can-Can Girls, and then it goes to something that is so clearly like tacky 80s modern American, and he's still trying to claim it's like culturally important.
This is French theater.
I think that's a good bit. And also,
it's okay
it allows like 7 or 8 pairs of breasts to appear on screen
in a PG-13 movie.
In a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, I thought it was whatever. But in Germany, West Germany, the Berlin Wall has yet to fall.
Oh my god!
Just FYI.
I just got from Marie. The 2 other movies
Yeah.
were Goodfellas and Eternal Sunshine.
Oh, okay.
So at least Eternal Sunshine is drifting towards
It's a good
indie.
pick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
But
pick.
then Tokyo Godfathers 3 was interesting.
And you know what? We're never going to fucking do Eternal Sunshine. Probably.
Well, yeah. I
I
mean,
don't think so.
his-
Gondry's made too
his
much like
latest
irrelevant
movie being
shit.
unreleasable doesn't help matters.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like
The rare film to get Zaslaved by someone other than Zaslav. His Pharrell musical.
it's like
Oh
they
my
just
God,
they
yeah.
just made it and watched it and we're like,
Never mind.
forget it.
It's finished.
Whoops.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And they were like, "Are you writing off for tax purposes?" No, we're just taking a loss.
Now
I love when Chevy shows up in the Lederhosen. There's such an attention to detail that he has his clothes folded up and he
Yes.
gives them to Beverly D'Angelo and she puts them in a bag. I'm like, that is so unnecessary in this movie, which has zero continuity, zero thought. And it's like, they have
That's
to
a
do
good
this
point.
elaborate moment where he presses that. It's like, what? The kids aren't even the same from the first movie. We don't give a fuck about what happened to his outfit, you know? But
Yes. It's also a funny bit that he's so excited about like connecting with his heritage and his family and everything. And they misread the door. This German family is just really fucking nice.
we're looking for sex.
yes.
Yeah.
And then he never connects with the real relatives that they clearly have been
that
corresponding
gag
with.
is great because
Yes.
what does the lady say on the way out where he's
Who
like,
the hell
were-"
are these people?
And she's like, "Fucked if I know," but it's not
Right.
fucked, but it's something like that. It was
But they just
that's
continue
funny.
to have this conversation in languages that they don't understand.
And
Being
they're just
and when you
being
come
funny.
to the States, you have
The
to stay
point.
with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then like Audrey's even like, it's just so nice to have someone who can listen, like
Yes.
a family member who will listen to me. And it's like
This old
she's just
German
nodding,
lady.
handing off fucking phallic ass sausage.
Well, I was going to say a really funny gag is when she sees the sausage, she's like, I miss my boyfriend.
yeah, it's
Yes.
a huge albino curved sausage. Yeah, it's like it couldn't look more like Zapka's
A
pale
Zapka
ass
sausage.
dick. Yeah. I have a quick Oktoberfest story that involves breasts as well, so I think it fits
because obviously
perfectly.
young Rusty hooks up with a lady at Oktoberfest.
Who opens her shirt.
Yes.
Yes.
Then he hears the German police raid sound.
And they go, someone's going to get hung. And he goes, oh no, dad.
Right, which he's correct about.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Chevy has done
He's caused a trouble at Oktoberfest. He's,
a traditional German dance so poorly.
Yes, he's knocking everything over.
It got into like slapstick fist fight.
Yes.
And then it turns into like, I love them when a movie fight just escalates and it's like, we just got to punch. Someone else has got to, an arbitrary, someone stands up and decks someone in a crowd. Like, I'm always here for that.
I don't say this as a criticism. It is the number one element in this movie that feels like a Chevy pitch.
Yeah.
Where he's like, here's my idea. I wear lederhosen, do like 5 minutes of comically bad dancing, and then start fist fighting people.
Yeah. And it's, his pitch was probably for 11 minutes and they had to cut it down. It's so long.
It's very long.
And it doesn't heighten in any interesting way.
Yes.
The game makes no sense too. Why would they invite a bystander to participate in a complicated
choreo, yeah, without teaching it to him or anything,
Right.
and then kind of being mad that he's not good at it? It's like
makes no
crazy.
sense.
Because it's also like,
and they're speaking English too. They're
it's
like, we
not
need
like-
a volunteer from the crowd. It's
Right.
like, this is getting crazy.
it's not like the bit is like, oh, he dances poorly and knocks over a fire pit and he sets their church on fire and
Yeah.
that's why they're angry. They're like, you have done such disrespect to our culture by dancing poorly. And I'm like, maybe on you to invite a fucking noob on stage?
Yeah, right. You brought this upon yourself.
Yeah.
I went to Munich Oktoberfest for my bachelor party.
Congrats. Humble brag.
This was the first time me and my brothers ever went to Europe
Mhm.
because my dad had died with only ever having gone to Germany where his stepfather was from and did a trip with him. So we were like, when our dad died, we were like, all of us have to leave the country for a bachelor party. Let's shake on this right now. That'll be a thing that will at least have 3 brothers trips out of the country.
Mhm.
And my younger brother, we did Amsterdam for his bachelor party. But we go to Munich Oktoberfest, day 1, 6 guys buy lederhosen, buy leather. I still have it, like leather, straight up, real lederhosen. You wear it every single day you're there. It's awesome. My youngest brother was like 26. He's like, I can't pay 200 euros for this.
Uh-huh.
And me and my buddy, one of my other buddies were like, fuck it. You're not going to be not in lederhosen. So we just laid out like another 200 euros for him.
Is it comfy?
It is a little comfy.
Okay.
Interesting.
It is a little comfy.
Yeah.
It's airy to have like just the straps
Sure.
and shorts. And we go to, so you go to these tents and you party in these tents. You drink beer all day long.
and not just like a little mug.
No, you get a liter of beer, a full
It's
40
like a little
ounces.
espresso cup.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You get a 40 ounce. That's a liter is about 36 ounces. You get a giant fucking stein. Now, Fest beer is a little lower alcohol content because they know people are fucking jamming them down.
Sure.
So like what in America we have Oktoberfest, it's like Marzini. Their Fest beer is more like light, smashable, crushable beer.
Got it.
And the big thing you do in these tents is you stand up on a table with a full beer and hold it up, and the entire crowd shuts down and looks at you while you go to chin a beer. And if you chin it, everyone is happy. If you fail, they freak out. They throw pretzels, shoes, like they boo you.
Yeah, I
they
love this.
scream at you. So on day 1, and each tent
because
is
it's like you're wasting their time if you
Yeah.
if you don't
Right.
do it. Like
And it's also
You
like-
demanded our attention.
yes, and based on your guys' knowledge of me as a person, do you think I might? I'm
How'd you do?
Consummate performer, an insane consumer.
I think
I'm
this
like-
is a space in which you would really excel.
And I go, and so each tent is like a brewery's tent. So we're in like the Augustiner tent. I stand up and do this. I fucking chin a full beer. It's 36 ounces. And the crowd is going apeshit. I'm able to do it. I get off the table and my knees buckle. Like I'm like because there's so much fucking like adrenaline
Yeah.
and alcohol at the same time. I was like, oh no.
and
my
the cheering, the
everyone's
adoration.
cheering. I'm like, this is better than improv. I can't believe I found something better than improv. So that's day 1, and we're like the rest of the time we're just fully participating in this thing. We go to the Hofbrau tent, which is the crazy tent. That one has the most security. It's the one where people get the most fucked up. It's sort of for the younger, less cultural, more bachelor party. Lots of Australians who manage to travel wherever there's alcohol. And first up, a fucking like a guy who looks like Jason Statham but with more blood vessels pop stands up with 2 liters on the table, and everyone's like, oh my fucking God, oh my fucking God. And he chins him back to back. That's like drinking a 6-pack of beer in like 11 seconds. The crowd goes fucking ape shit. I could not believe it. It was insane. So I'm like, there's no one to top that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you start hearing quiet and people start clapping, and you look over and 2 fat, bespectacled twins are standing up on a table with leaders, and they are identical chunky twins with little glasses, and they look like fucking Cenobites. they like
Butterball.
Yeah,
Two
butterball.
Wow.
They cheers each other and then fucking chin it, and the crowd erupts. And then we're sitting at the table, and Justin Tyler is a good friend of mine,
Yeah.
also a comedy nerd. We're
The
like,
great Justin
what's
Tyler.
the third beat?
Right.
That-
How do you
who-
heighten this?
How do you heighten this? Because it's heightened perfectly so
Yeah.
far. And then all of a sudden the crowd starts getting quiet and starts chanting, and we look over, and it's like a 5'10" beautiful blonde woman in a jindal, like that things that hoist your titties up like to a shelf.
They're lady lederhosen.
Yeah, the lady leader is called a jindal. It's just St. Pauli girl is that famous. And she stands up there with a liter of beer, and everyone is like, it's just heteronormativity. Is everyone's like, like Tex Avery cartoons.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be amazing. This
Wolf
is the third beat.
whistles. Right.
She starts chugging it. The crowd starts going apeshit, but then she starts slowing down. And we're like, will the crowd turn on a beautiful woman? Short answer, yes. Pretzels start fucking flying. Everyone is like, boo, you fucking, like we
Does she just like
Jesus
quit and put it down
Christ.
on the table?
No, she wins. She
She
is slowing
powers
down.
through it.
She pulls her tits out and pulls her top down, breasts out. That's why this iconic scene with Moon opening her
Yeah.
shirt is like, I remembered this. She drops her wonderful big naturals out. The crowd goes all the way back.
Yeah.
She finishes chinning the beer, does like the curtsy, and then puts her breasts away. And we're
Wow.
like, ah! Like the crowd, like the vibe shifted
Also,
everywhere.
this
Yeah.
crowd is so rabid that
Germany's no good, guys.
they start pretzeling her when she's slowing down. Not when she was like, I quit, I'm sorry, I give up.
Yeah, no, when it seemed
They're
like she might not
drunk
do it.
maniacs.
When she was on track to not finish, they started throwing food at her.
And the craziest thing I remember about this this tent too is that the tables were for 7 people.
yeah.
And to get a table is like ideal because then you can like have a server.
Yeah.
So you got to get there super early. We were 6 people. One random Brazilian guy
Oh, yeah.
ends up at our table with us.
Yeah.
And he shows up and he has like a tucked in shirt. And we have a picture of the beginning. And at the end, he has like a hat that's a huge fake keg with like a tap on it. His eyes are crossed. His shirt is ripped and he has like blood and food all over himself. And it's
Right.
like, this is what happens when you hang out with the Gabrus family for like
you're
fucking
closer
7
to
hours.
him than anyone else you've ever met in your
It's
life.
just so obvious that the good European countries, like where Italy, France, but where they just know how to drink.
Yes.
And then like all the bad ones, like England and Germany, people are just like, ah! Like they're
Right.
just maniacs.
In England,
They
they're
can
like-
only go too far, right?
I only had 100 beers last night. Is there a way we can make them colder and warmer and flatter so they go down smoother? The first time I had a cask ale, I'm like, why the fuck does this exist?
So you can
Then you
drink
drink it and you're like, oh, I could have 100 of these. And
100%.
it's like, of course, mate.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
all right.
Like, we're here from 4 to 1 a.m.
The
Like,
London thing of like almost all bars close at 10 p.m.
11,
but also
11:30,
okay, I'm sorry.
11:30.
But also like please drink outside.
Yeah.
Like a recipe for people to be like, I gotta keep like loading now because the cutoff's coming earlier than I wanted. And also I'm already
But, like,
in the streets stumbling around.
Well, the thing about the economy of drinking in England is it's like you get off work, you go to the pub, you start
Straight.
chugging beers,
Right.
and like might be outside if you want to smoke, especially, right?
Yeah.
You do that until closing time. Then you are, as the Brits would say, pissed.
Yes.
On
And
the piss, man.
You are fucking on the lash, and then you're like, "Let's get a fucking kebab!" Like you just stumble into
Nando's,
the
bruv.
no Nando's is closed. You stumble into the only businesses that are open, which are kebab shops. So you're
Right.
like, pile meat into a bowl
But
for
like
me.
11:45 p.m. in London is like Night of the Living
so
Dead. Like
fucking
it's suddenly the
awful.
streets are overrun
Or
with people who've been kicked out of
you
bars.
go to a club because clubs are allowed to be open, and
Yeah.
those, believe me, are not very cool. like,
Wait a second, but last night in Soho made them seem really nice and trendy.
yeah,
I went out
Back in the
drinking in Scotland by myself on a Saturday night.
sounds fun.
I was in
Anyone call you a
Glasgow.
puff?
No.
I'm sorry, what?
Carry on.
I was in a bar and I've experienced like being in a bar with like a lot of drunk people, but it's like, like a trashy bar in Midtown with like
Right.
a lot of underage people. I have never been in a crowded bar where every single person has been drinking since
Like
fucking 8 in
Like
the morning.
career drinking.
From like 6'5" fucking oak men to like 5'1" women in like in mega mini skirts
yeah.
are fucking like cross-eyed.
Mega minis.
There had been, that sport, I think it's called hurling.
Sure.
They just basically whip a wood like like lacrosse ball at each other.
Correct.
Yeah, and they
yes.
use like a cane. Like it's not like they use like a.
It's like drunk high alive for like Highlanders. Is what
Scotland's a crazy fucking place for that shit. Like when I was in Glasgow, I went to go get drinks, and I was like, "This is fucking terrifying."
I truly was a little scared by the end of the night and had to get out of there.
I'm referencing that I famously in Newcastle, where I went to college, which is not Scotland, but it's the English city closest to the Scottish border. Got called a puff, which is a slur for gay people. For wearing a coat. It was like 22 degrees Fahrenheit outside. Like it was not warm.
Let's make it clear.
A guy I did not know was like, hitting me on the shoulder. I'm like, what? And he was like, you puff, you're wearing a coat. And I was like, should I not? What is the plan here?
I just want to clarify, it is both a slur for gay people and the last name of a very respected long-necked Jedi.
Oh, of course. Ariel Puff.
The Phantom.
Yes.
I'm glad we brought that
But
back.
I maybe should not share this.
Just has two meanings. The word has two meanings.
My father was a working class Englishman. I was raised in South London. And his brother, his older brother, my father was the fourth, so the third son, was such a inveterate alcoholic that his mail was delivered to the pub, which is the thing that was one of those things that I was told as a kid, and I was like, that can't be. Like,
what
as
does that mean?
a grown up, I checked and I was like, I feel like I remember that uncle,
Right, I have this bad
this uncle
memory, this
had
false
his
memory.
mail delivered to the pub. That's like not true.
That's
I'm
a
like,
family
no,
bit, right?
100%. Like
They carved a mailbox.
No, it's true. I think it was true. Like the postman was like, "Well, I know where I'll find him. Like, here's your fucking mail."
Yeah.
The one thing I like, I like a lot of stuff about drinking culture, and because I've played rugby my whole life, and in America, I hang out with a lot of Brits and Aussies and stuff. But I like
You
pub.
like rugby.
I love rugby, and I love the pub culture of loyalty to a pub.
Yes, 100%.
That's what I like a lot too. Is that it's
like a home team.
you
pub.
just make a fucking spot your public house,
it's
and
your
that's where you
place.
go. And that's like you're like, oh, I can go there alone, and I'll probably run it. It's like McManus was for like a decade, where I'd be like, okay, I'm getting out of something else. I bet
You're
you I
gonna
know
be there like
someone at
clockwork.
McManus,
right?
Yeah,
And there's a community there.
yeah.
Listeners might be noticing that we're avoiding talking about the Italy section of the movie, which becomes weirdly plotty.
Yeah, the Italy section of the movie stinks.
Yeah.
I was losing interest in the movie.
I just don't care about this movie trying to put actual stakes on anything.
This is where the sex tape thing gets resolved too. And there's a lot of
But
there's a lot of
in her
business with
seeing the poster, storming off, Clark getting stuck in the business end of this weird, complicated traveler's check scam that also involves a hostage in the trunk, and then D'Angelo has to come back and save him.
The guy who plays the thief who tries to flirt with Beverly, this guy is doing work.
Victor Lanoux.
He's very enjoyable.
Yes.
But I could not give a fuck. I didn't. And again, I'm not this guy always, but just like Pig in a Poke, what the fuck is? This is what I say on Action Boys all the time. If the robbery went well, what was the plan? Why do they need that guy?
Understand their scam.
You
don't
they
understand.
Seem to have the money, and the guy they know who he is. They could just leave with the money. Give the Griswolds 5 G's on the walkout, and everything is fine.
But they're basically robbing this traveler's checks place while he walks in, but have already said it's the perfect crime if we can figure out someone else to pin it on. You're like, pin what? Leave. The guy's tied up. And instead they're like, we're going to give him too much money so it looks like he stole everything, and then put the guy who works here tied up in his trunk and give him the car so that people blame him for the crime.
I hate that we're
But
talking
then they go back to try and get the car.
Yes.
Yeah, the Beetle or whatever it is.
Because
why do the bad guys follow
Because
them?
they're like, go to the hotel and we'll get the car back from you, because I guess they want the car back, but they're just using it to help so he can transport the body, but then they fuck up by going shopping.
The shopping
I will say
sequence
this.
That's the best
rules.
part of Italy.
Yes.
I'm glad
it's
you
the
said
one
something.
good part. The outfits are great.
It's
They
so
all look
funny.
Fucking incredible.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love because Chevy has it on the plane ride home too. He has that weird.
Oh, you know what? I like that bit too. I guess it's at the very end, but
Statue of Liberty?
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yikes!
But the sped up Chevy trying to have multiple meals on the plane, and they keep on taking it away before he gets to start eating it.
That's solid travel humor.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, we skipped over it in France, but the sped up Louvre thing is a lot of fun.
A lot
too.
of fun.
Yeah.
And that's a semi-relatable human element that they're putting in, which is this notion of the dad viewing tourism as a competitive sport. When he's shitting on the young honeymooning couple.
Yeah.
And he's like, we saw 40 things today. They haven't seen anything. And D'Angelo's
Beverly D'Angelo's like, I would love to just stay in this hotel
they're
and
happy
fuck.
and we're exhausted.
Yeah. There's that moment too when they're like, "Wow, Dad, look, ancient ruins." He's like, "Keep moving,"
Right.
and it's like the kids are even enjoying sightseeing,
He's
and
like
he won't let it happen.
checklisting things over actually absorbing anything.
What was I going to say? Vacation, and these movies do not naturally have a way to end, right?
No.
Vacation kind of cleverly builds up to Wally World is
There's
closed.
a destination.
Chevy has the nervous breakdown.
Right.
It goes on a little long, in my opinion, but it's a clever
But
sequence.
that movie, it's helped
It's
by the fact that
emotional.
they're going to one place and they come up with a kind of funny twist on what happens. So they get to that place.
Christmas
Vacation
has the big explosion and shit.
Yes.
You know, that again, like they do a good job figuring out a punchy ending.
Right. This one
movie doesn't
sucks.
know how to do that apart from Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
Getting knocked over.
Yeah, I think that's what they thought their big moment was.
Right. Which
yeah.
you're like, okay.
But it is such a wild moment. To clarify, at the very end of this film, Clark is looking for the bathroom on the plane. He accidentally opens the door to the cockpit, gets tangled in the steering gear.
Yes.
And then
causes the plane to nosedive
Yes.
right as it's flying over Ellis Island.
into the Statue of Liberty, which then, like, its arm gets turned upside down, and the movie basically ends with Clark's going, oopsie.
Yeah, it's so. And then I do think the montage of photos over the credits is very funny.
This is the thing.
Credits are
Like,
funny.
that ending is so insane because you're just like, well, wait a second. If that happens, he's getting dragged to Guantanamo Bay.
right.
Right? Like, he's not getting out of this. You could just have the ending of, like, Clark out the window going, like, look, Statue of Liberty, aren't you folks happy to be back in America again? And then cutting to images of, like, gross American shit.
Yeah, which
Like,
I thought was
tacky
fun.
American shit, which is really funny. The Statue of Liberty thing happens so fast and is so extreme. And is like feels frightening.
It's out of reality with
Yeah, and it doesn't.
everything
And
else.
even the gag itself doesn't look great.
No.
It doesn't also
No.
look that good. I will just want to shout out that my pub
Mm.
was the Lonsdale in Newcastle,
Hell yeah.
and I just looked it up, and is this the fate of so many English pubs? It's something that the movie
World's End.
Is about. It's been bought by Green King, which is one of the many pub chains, and I assume is still basically fine inside, but they ruin these places by kind of
pub chain thing
giving
is
them this-
so
me about this.
giving them
interesting
this
and
set
so
menu
unique
and-
to the UK. Like,
Yes.
it's not really a thing here.
Of course not. But like in England, it's like there are pubs everywhere,
Right.
right? You know, as there have been since
Yeah.
like the 10th century or whatever.
Right.
And like, you know, like everything else is just getting
We
like,
have all these
gobbled up.
like tacky corporate pubs in New York
Yeah.
that are just called like the point on the right or whatever.
Yeah. O'Shaughnessy's.
Right, and you're like, this isn't owned by like
Yeah.
real Irish people, but you're also like, it's not part of a like McPub chain that is literally like
Now,
a corporate logo stomped onto 40 locations.
I want to look up my London local, the Pineapple. Seems to be
It's a great name.
still
Really
doing
good
fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I might see you down at the Pineapple.
But the thing with
Hey,
the
bros,
Pineapple
welcome to the Pineapple.
And the Dartmouth Arms, which is my other favorite pub where I live near, is like they got a little gastropubby because like that's what happened in North London. It
That's
was
what
like
you had
pubs
to
started
do.
to have good food,
Yeah.
but there wasn't really anything wrong with that because you were like, well, the food's good. Like,
Yeah, right.
You know, and like they're still serving beer and it's still a good vibe in here. It's just
Yeah.
like they fucking hired a chef.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to
it's
bitch that the
nice.
food got better here.
Well, some people do, but yes.
Well, in England, that would like, you know, someone might have like a flavor that would fucking shut their body down.
What is this, garlic? I once introduced Ben to Peter Kay's legendary garlic bread bit, which is one of the most famous like comedy
gotta
routines
see
in
this.
England,
Yeah.
which is him
I love
making fun
garlic
of
bread.
his family, his parents, his northern Bolton parents eating garlic bread for the first time. You're like, garlic bread. If I do it, it's not funny at all. But everyone in Britain knows it. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
Britain
awesome.
only discovered garlic in like 1997 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy. They were like going all over the world, killing people for spice, and never got garlic.
Right. They just sold it to other people, I guess.
Yeah.
Should we do the box office game?
We should. Yeah. I mean, we should say this movie did okay, but
did
was
okay.
definitely seen as like a disappointment.
Well, especially since it's going PG-13, you'd think they might be like growing their audience. Instead, they're losing it significantly. Now, sequels used to be more,
There used to be
kind
more
of
of a
were
drop-off.
expected to do worse.
right. But like
you know.
Christmas Grows is the biggest
Yes, it does.
of them. I do think it was seen as like this succeeded based on love of the first one rather than anything Heckerling
Well,
did.
it's also, it's July 26, 1985. There's a comedy in theaters with Chevy Chase.
Right.
You're going to get people
But
to
like
show up.
Chase comes out of this with another win under his belt. It's almost kind of held against Heckerling that like she misunderstood the assignment and the movie worked in spite of her, which I just think all of it's interesting in building up like the psychology of her going into Look Who's Talking, which is like, do I want to make a talking baby movie? I do want to make something that's a hit that I own that's undeniable.
I'm going to dispute you on that. Now, Fletch is the same year, right?
Okay.
And so Fletch is kind of, it's a solid hit, but also well received. So a month ago, Fletch has come out. Fletch is, in fact, where is it in the box office? It's 14, but it's been out for a couple months. Post this, Spies Like Us, which does pretty good, but like is not as well remembered as some.
Yeah.
Three Amigos, which is now liked, but was a bomb.
Yes.
Funny Farm, you guys are sticking up for it. But
I love
also
all three of these
underperformed.
movies.
Right?
Yeah.
But like and then post that, it's Chevy starts to scramble. Caddyshack 2, which is a disaster.
Although tiny part, but yes, disaster.
Fletch Lives, which is also a disaster. And then Christmas Vacation is the sequel he makes where it's like, well, that worked. That worked.
Right, he's back.
But that's also his last hit, probably like ever.
Right, and it is one
like
of those.
His 90s output is obviously really terrible.
I feel like for a guy who had such a bad reputation, but a good number of hits, and had flops as well, like was up and down. Even when I earlier said like all of his movies were basically hits until Vacation.
He
when
had
I look
flops,
at it,
like
he had ups and downs.
Under the Rainbow
but like,
and shit.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. His average was strong enough that in this era of like, he is a $6 million movie star.
Right.
He doesn't command $20 million. He costs $6 to make a movie that costs $20.
That makes 60 or whatever.
Right, that's worth it.
Right.
That's like on base, and maybe he's tough to deal with, but who gives a shit? I do feel like when the talk show happens,
right,
and like people are watching,
the bubble is burst with the talk show. Everyone's like, this guy
it's
sucks.
wild.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's something about a guy who's an asshole.
That's the big
who's
thing.
always playing an asshole.
Yes.
You can do as a little suspension of disbelief that, wow, Chevy's really good at playing an asshole.
You watch.
Then when he plays himself in the Chevy Chase show, and you're like, oh no, he's not acting at all.
Right.
He's an
Right.
asshole.
Oh,
Yeah.
this guy
And-
can't hide it.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I like fucking whatever's Ty Webb less. I like
Well, it's
Clark
like it's
Griswold
an
less
interesting
now.
two-pronged thing of you're watching him without the distance of a character and being like, this isn't so charming if it's real.
Right. If a guy's an actual prick, it's not fun.
The second part of it is part of the fun of Chevy Chase is his so confidently going through these things. And watching the talk show, he's so quickly dying inside and unhappy that you're like, this isn't fun if he's not even having fun doing it.
Right.
And it's starting to make him look pathetic.
Yeah.
But also the first episode is Goldie Hawn, who he had done 2 movies with. And it's like, great, pair him up, his first guest, a big comedy movie star who's one of his like scene partners. And they just have no chemistry together. And you're like, oh, none of these people like him. None of the other people in Hollywood like him.
It's a forgotten thing about Conan.
Yeah.
When everyone zooms in on how bad, Conan did in the first year, not the show, but the ratings or whatever. One reason he survived was the Chevy Chase bombed so hard that it was like, maybe we need to give the youngsters a shot.
Yeah.
And here's another thing that was quietly working for Conan. Guests he had on who had hosted SNL were like,
you're
I
so
remember
funny.
you. You were great.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I liked you when you were the writer.
The other thing
in the
Conan had
background.
going for him is he's like one of the great comic presences and is so funny.
One of the
and is,
funniest
like,
human beings alive.
genuine.
But it's
and,
this
right,
weird like imbalance of
The
like
best.
He's the best.
He's the fucking best.
He's the best.
I
Him
hate
just-
that. I hate that he's doing a travel show that's on
Sure,
Max.
how dare he.
That's really good.
But him just like windmill dunking at the Oscars after like 30 years
Yes.
of like being available for that job is just like
Right.
great. Yeah.
And him
you know.
The
doing it at the
Kennedy
point-
Center.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
That-
he did that
oh.
so perfectly.
Yeah.
Genius.
The way he like threaded the needle of like, how do I do this in what is probably the last Mark Twain Awards?
Right.
Right.
But I'm like, I was, my
Before it goes to
teen
Matt
years,
Rife or whatever.
John Voight.
So funny.
He's so funny.
On Twitter. Like
Yeah.
he's getting it for his tweets.
My like teen years, I was like, why won't they let Conan host the Oscars?
Right.
Why won't they let the weird guy host? It's so much better to have him host at the point in his life where he has nothing to prove, and now also seemingly might just be the de facto host for the next 5 years.
Yeah, he might have accidentally did it. Like he
He might have nailed it.
He's, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
He kind of nailed
But
it.
I just think there's
And in
this,
an Oscar presentation that the movies didn't fucking get me
Right.
going, having Conan there was a fucking victory.
I just think it's an interesting flip that like you have Chevy and Conan at the same time, and you're like, oh my God, like ABC has hired a movie star for 20
Right.
years to host a talk show. This is humongous. And NBC responded with a fucking comedy writer.
Yeah.
The discrepancy is so great. And then, like, any celebrity who has dealt with Conan prior to him getting the show through SNL is like, I always liked you.
Yeah.
And you're like, America doesn't know this guy, but people with stature are approving him. Meanwhile, Chevy is interviewing people he starred in movies with.
And has zero chemistry.
And you're just like, he's kind of just tolerated.
So this film opens number one, $12 million. It got very bad reviews, to be clear.
It makes 40.
It ends up at a domestic total of $49 million. Not bad.
Not bad.
Number two at the box office is one of the big hits of the summer. We've covered it on this podcast.
In 1985.
It's been out for a month.
Is it Back to the Future?
There you go.
There we go. It's the biggest hit of the year.
Good movie.
Yeah, excellent film.
You like it?
I haven't seen it.
It's about this kid.
I've only seen 3.
Yeah.
I've only seen the
You're a
Broadway
Western
show and 3.
Number three at the box office is a legendary flop, an animated film.
Is it The Black Cauldron?
Disney's The
Yeah.
Black Cauldron.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever seen it? I never have.
I gotta safely say I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
It is probably the nadir of Disney, sort of
It
like in
is.
terms of cultural
I think it's like
impact.
inarguably. What's wild about it, Gabrus, is it is like an adaptation of a fairly recent, expansive fantasy novel series
Yes.
that Disney bought, and we're sort of like, we're gonna do our like Middle Earth.
And
We're gonna, like,
we're
put
gonna
the
try to
Disney
appeal to
spin on-
boys, which
Yeah.
is
Right.
always the Disney thing of like, can we get boys?
What
you
was
know,
the book called though?
it's called The Book of Three.
Right.
The whole group of it is called The Chronicles of Prydain.
I remember.
It's like young adult high
Yeah.
fantasy.
I remember seeing the movie when it not when it came out, but watching on VHS when I was young, being like, "This doesn't work." And then years later, in my like school library, finding the Book of Three, going, "This looks fun," and 60 pages in, being like, "This is the Black Cauldron." That's so
Interesting.
weird
The
that
rep-
it's based off of this.
I'm so embarrassed to say that I am such a fucking any port in the storm for high fantasy
Sure.
that I'm
Don't
going
be
to
embarrassed.
You
seek
need
out.
to watch this.
I'm going to
I
seek
kinda-
out
I'd be
Black.
very
I
curious
have
to hear
long
your
wanted
opinion.
to watch it. I've always heard that it's kind of also like weirdly scary, right? Like it's got
It
kind
is.
of a little too
It's
intense
like,
for.
one of the famous anecdotes about it is it's the movie that they're working on at Disney when Tim Burton gets hired out of CalArts, and they're like, "Perfect, we got this weird, creepy guy. He can do some of the monsters," and he submits his stuff, and they were like, "Tim,
All right.
fucking cool."
Do you like what's it called? I just read it last year because Sean Clements told me to read it. The Blade itself, the first Law books.
Yes.
You're into
Yeah.
those.
Clemens got me into those years ago too. That trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and then the 3 that take place in the same world. So
The
awesome.
standalones
Yeah.
or whatever. Cool.
And
Yeah.
if you're an audiobook guy, the guy
Sure.
who reads those books, Stephen Pacey, is fantastic.
All right.
The way he does Glotka, who has a speech impediment because he has his teeth pulled,
Right.
but then he also has internal thought that's better. He does like 2 different
Oh, that's
versions
clever.
of it. It's so fucking cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to keep this quick. I went down a
Jesus
weird rabbit
Christ.
hole. The man who directed The Black Cauldron,
Yeah.
one of the 2 directors, I believe his name is literally Richie Rich. He is Richard Rich. And he brags about the
Correct.
first animation director to have no experience in animation. He was like a music guy who then became like a development executive at Disney, who then they let direct and had never animated once in his life. And I think he co-directed that and Fox and the Hound, which are sort of the nadir for Disney commercially.
Yep.
And then much like Don Bluth, he like spun off and was like, I don't need Disney, I can make my own thing. And he made like the Swan Princess for New Line, which was kind of a mess.
Right.
He has largely backed into doing like extensive biblical animated adaptations. But I was going through his IMDb and I found that he had made a movie about the Prophet Muhammad. And I'm like, how the fuck did he do this without being arrested?
Yeah.
And I found a review that our friend, past and future guest Dana Stevens, did of this movie, which I think came out in like 2003.
Yep.
He did an animated Prophet Muhammad movie that is animated from the perspective of the Prophet Muhammad, who has no dialogue. It's an animated like fucking Nickel Boys, where it's you seeing other characters talk about Muhammad so that he can tell the story without showing him on screen.
Right, because
Prophet's eye
using
view
his image is like
prohibited.
Yeah.
Just
Yes.
one of the weirdest movies I've ever discovered existing.
Put on your 3D Muhammad glasses right
Kind
now.
of.
Yeah.
And it's like animated like a shitty Disney movie.
Number 4 at the box office.
Number
He
4
also
at the
did the
box
King and I animated film.
Yes, which is also a cursed film.
Number 4 at the box office is a sequel
Mhm.
to a film that John covered on our show.
This is where LA is probably getting hot, huh?
Is it Predator 2?
No. But that is a fun, of course, movie in which, yes, the Predator comes to LA and gets in the middle of a gang war and Danny Glover's stressed out.
Is it Beyond Thunderdome?
It's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
I love that one.
Very fun movie. We
the
covered
only
it on our
movie
show, of course.
that ever had the courage to go beyond Thunderdome.
No one's done it since.
No.
Number 5 at the box office is a Western that a lot of people really like. I saw it and was underwhelmed.
Silverado. I just remember you being
Larry
underwhelmed.
Kasdan's Silverado. I fired that up being like, I'm going to have the best time. And I was like,
Could be hooting and hollering.
Do you like Silverado? You ever seen it?
I saw it when I was a
Flying
kid, and I think I
Costner.
liked it, but I think I would want to. I'm on a Costner kick right now.
We all are.
Hey, now.
We just
man.
did No Way Out on Action Boys.
I just watched that after Hackman Pass. I'd never
very
seen it.
not horny movie about very straightforward people.
It's and
It's good.
I'm
Good.
listening to The Big Clock now, the book that No Way Out's based on. It's
Yeah.
fucking very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's been
Because the twist, there was a previous movie adaptation as well, right?
there's two.
The twist
There's an
in
American
No Way
one and a
Out
French one,
is
and then
unique just to that version of the story. Is that correct?
the twist that he's investigating himself.
Yes.
That's like the whole conceit of the movie is that a guy who
No, I'm saying the very end twist of
Oh,
No
the
Way
very
Out,
end of the
which
twist.
we won't
is like,
spoil.
but yes,
It's
which we won't.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's unearned. It's bananas.
It's one
There's
of the
no
most
teasing
insane
of
things I've seen a movie do in the
It
last
almost
90
makes
seconds.
me like it. It's and again, I keep coming back to improv.
Yes.
But it really reminds me of like the last beat of a Harold, where you're
It's-
like, we were in
It's
space. the whole
begging
time.
for a blackout.
Yeah,
it's like if I
exactly.
do something loud enough, well, they
Yeah.
have to black
We just
us
have
out.
to get at the red light has been on for like 8 minutes.
Right.
The booth is
We're
not.
on
The booth is
fourth
behind the
beats.
wheel. Yeah. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm on a crazy Costner kick. I loved Horizon, and of course, and so I want to rewatch Silverado.
You know what movie is good, Gabrus? Horizon Chapter 2.
I haven't seen it.
Saw it at Santa
No one's
Barbara.
seen it
They
except
played it
for
at a
us.
fucking film festival.
Oh,
I made a trip out there.
I'm so jealous.
It's really good.
I'm so fucking jealous.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first one so much.
I think this one's a lot better.
No, that is. It has to be.
Yeah.
Because I will say this: a movie that is as slow and as long as Horizon that ends with "to be continued" is bananas. It's like fucking. What's the Miles Morales Spider-Man movie? Where I was like,
yeah.
when that ended with "to be continued," I heard kids in the crowd boo at the
Hey,
AMC.
John, don't worry. They announced today that the next movie is coming out in only 2 years.
It's a long strike delay. It's interesting. It was just so funny when they were like, the strike means we're delaying that one. I'm
it
like,
would be
the
out
strike?
in 6 months.
Yeah.
Our original
You were
release date, if
almost
not
done
for
with
the
that, huh?
strike. You're like, you have a title page and nothing
Yeah,
else.
exactly. Spider-Man's going to be in it. We know that.
You know that.
Also at the box office, Cocoon.
Sure.
Old
hell
guys.
yeah.
Rambo First Blood Part 2. I'm sure you've never covered that
Yeah,
one.
that's not a
Oh,
movie
no.
you like, right?
Not
Hey,
really.
can we win this time? One question: can we win this time? I love. I could talk for hours about First Blood and First Blood Part 2 being like the dichotomy of like American art, where it's like the first movie is like
Yeah.
PTSD,
Right.
soldier coming home,
High
anti-cop,
drama. Yes.
high drama,
So
like
good.
dealing with like soldiers coming home and bringing the war home with them, all this intense, heavy shit.
And the second
second
one's-
one's like, they still got soldiers in Vietnam. Go there with a bow and arrow and kill everybody, Sly.
Wouldn't it be great if one of us was so yoked and could take care of all of their problems?
God, he is so fucking diced into. It's
He sure is.
insane.
The vein poppage
Oh,
is
he's
off
vascular
the charts.
He looks like grilled chicken.
He's so His hair is bananas. Like it's
Yeah.
so crazy. Fires an M60 at Sensei Crease.
I guess he looks more like rotisserie chicken because he's
yeah.
bronze.
He's pretty
too.
he's pretty glazed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's balsamic.
Have you covered? I have to go in a second.
Yeah.
This film, a film I really like, Clint Eastwood's Western, Pale Rider, which
Mm.
is sort of Unforgiven before Unforgiven. Like it's another clever anti-Western. It's just
Yeah.
a little less seen.
Is that the one where he is maybe the devil, or that's something else? That's like the Man in Black or something. What's that
No,
one called?
I know what you're going for. Yeah, he basically is sort of deaf.
Is-
Yes.
in that movie.
Am I wrong in thinking? No, this doesn't make sense. Because is it out at the box office at this point in time?
What?
Why are you bringing up Pale Rider?
It's number 8.
Okay, that was my question.
That's what I'm saying.
In
It's
the end
box office
montage,
game.
in the end credits montage, they show an image of some Clint Eastwood Western.
I believe
poster.
it is Pale Rider.
It is.
It looked like it to me.
It did,
But I
right?
mean, although it could, there's a lot of Clint Eastwood
It might
posters
be
out
Josie
there.
Wells or
right,
whatever,
yeah.
yeah.
No, because Josie Wells has got the two good.
sure.
I don't know. Number 9 at the box office, St. Elmo's Fire. That's a movie that's bad, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Joel Schumacher's St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah,
That's a movie that's a bit of a gas leak movie. It has its fans.
Yeah,
I've never
it's stupid.
rewatched it.
It's fucking stupid.
I've never been inspired to.
Number 10 is a movie I don't know.
Mm.
It's a romantic comedy called The Heavenly Kid,
Oh,
starring Lewis Smith, best known for his role in The Heavenly Kid, Wikipedia tells me,
huh.
about like a greaser who dies playing chicken and comes back as an angel.
Is Teen Angel the ABC sitcom loosely adapted from The Heavenly Kid? Why do I know The Heavenly Kid?
I don't know.
I feel like The Heavenly Kid was. It sounds so fucking. The premise sounds so. I mean, I think it's. What's the fuck? Why can't I think of it? The Angel movie with
Heaven Can Wait.
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of
Jason.
you're not going to get to go to heaven till you help this
Right
other
wrongs,
kid
yeah.
by
Jane
being his
Kasmerick.
guardian
Yeah.
angel. Young Jane Kasmerick.
Yeah, there was an ABC TGIF sitcom with a very similar premise that maybe was just unofficially riffing on this called
Fair
Teen
enough.
Angel that I was a fan of.
That was an Al Jean, Mike Rice show, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think it was very good though. No offense.
Well, I disagree with you. I'm sure my opinion as a 7-year-old would hold up perfectly.
Looks like that one had the great Ron Glass though. I love him.
He was the big floating head in the sky, I believe.
Oh, sort of the Zordon.
Yeah, kind of. Imagine, but in the sky.
Sure.
Yeah.
Instead of a tube.
Have you ever seen
Just bringing it back to
the semi-recent big budget American Power Rangers movie, Gabrus?
Of course.
with
David and
Bryan
I will talk
Cranston
about this a lot. Cranston is so fucking good as Zordon.
locked in.
It's
That movie's good.
such a better movie than I expected.
I like that movie a lot,
That
but
movie's
like
good.
I
Cranston,
put it on as a bit,
totally.
and you know, I ate an edible, and I'm like, this would be funny. And then
Watched it
by the
on
end of it,
plane.
I was like, I care a lot.
It was like this
about
rocks and rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
100%.
like Cranston, you're just like, oh my god, he is playing Zordon with like gravity and grace.
He's good, man.
He's good.
What did I just see
He
him
makes
in
some-
that he really? Oh, the studio.
The studio. Yeah.
Oh, he's having fun in the studio.
Yeah.
I've only seen the first episode of the studio, but I enjoyed
Me
it.
too. I also love Han. She's so fucking funny, so
She's
hot.
always
She's
good.
fun.
And then
She's
she's doing this
so
bit
hot.
where she's a fully different style
Every time
yeah.
and walking in.
She seems a little Pascal inspired, perhaps. Some of
she's
the hairstyles.
Pascal. I
Yeah.
mean, Cranston is like there's so many guys that
Sure.
Cranston's kind of doing. But I also just love, like Rogan knows, like Marty's a good actor. Like you don't have to
Yeah.
just have Marty do one scene where he's just like, I am Marty. You know, like
Yeah.
you can give him 3 moods like over the course of an episode.
When they reveal like
Yeah.
Marty, he's like Marty's crying in the background. It's so
really
fucking
funny.
good.
Yeah,
I
like-
have said this many times. He is, perhaps our finest kind of like major film artist within the studio system, right?
Yeah.
Still getting to operate at that level.
Right.
And he's getting up there in age. And I want as many Marty movies as we can get while he's still around and in good form. I also don't want him slept on as an actor. I'm
Good
like,
actor.
every time he's ever acted in something, he's so fucking good. And I'd love it if he could throw in like 2 more supporting performances.
He's great in his fucking like daughter's TikTok.
He's always
He's always
good.
gets the joke. Always, yeah, he's always like,
What's the one? Guilty by Association, which is like a totally mediocre De Niro blacklist movie
okay,
in which he plays like a blacklisted filmmaker.
guilty by suspicion.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've
He
never
is
seen that.
So fucking
He's
good.
amazing in Quiz Show. as well.
I watched
Amazing
a couple.
quiz show.
I watched a couple.
Amazing in Taxi Driver.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I watched a
Crazy.
couple of Marty's
Normalcy.
docs early, his early docs, and he's in them so much.
He's good on
So like
camera.
Italian American
Yeah,
is really
She's
good,
amazing.
and I forget the other one that's
Journeys to
about no the guy, his friend who's crazy.
Oh
It just-
yes,
I don't
yes.
know.
They're
I
just
haven't seen that
interviewing
one.
him in his house. That
Sure.
one is fucking. I wish
Yeah.
I could pull the name of it. It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome. Yeah.
Marty.
Marty.
Let's hang out with Marty.
Let's have Marty on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah. By the way,
he's around.
next week on Blank Check, look who's talking with Martin Scorsese.
The baby talks.
Travolta, he's
Look
there's something about him.
Look Who's Talking To has a joke that's burned into my head. I can't. Is Damon Wayans Jr. going? Oh, that's Mr. Toilet Man. Eat your doodles and your peepees. I've been saying
so-
that. I've been saying that for 35 years.
John, I am so excited for David to meet Mr. Toilet.
Mr. Toilet.
Mr. Toilet Man. Eat
Yeah,
your doodles and your peepees.
Right.
Oh, and
As
he's
someone who
scary.
is, I've
A
successfully potty trained a child.
Hell
not
yeah.
To, not to
This movie might hit
pat
close
me
to
on the
home.
back.
Yeah.
But I witnessed the stages of potty training.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
In my memory, a film
Nobody told me that that's how it works.
A
That
film-
it's sort of like, oh, they get good at one thing and then they get good at the
a
other.
film I
thing.
have not seen in probably 30 years, if not more.
Sure.
In my memory, Look Who's Talking To is almost a potty training thriller first and foremost.
Yes.
Well, then then it won't be triggering for me because I'll kind of be like, okay, I did.
You made it
this.
to the other
Like,
side.
right, I mean, I'm gonna have to do it 2 more times, but whatever.
I rewatched recently Martin Scorsese's American Express commercial where he's getting his photos
so
developed
funny.
and he's going through them and giving
I just
them
want to
notes.
go back to that era of life. I'm sorry.
Everything
I
about
want
it.
back there.
We had it figured out.
We did.
There's a moment in it where it's photos from his grandchild's birthday party, I think is the
Yes.
bit, or his son's birthday, his nephew, whatever. And he holds it up to the guy behind the counter at like a fucking 7-Eleven. And he goes, see here, he's the antagonist, but where's or he goes, see here, he's the protagonist. Where's the antagonist? He's missing from the frame.
The whole commercial is so funny. His commercial, Wes Anderson's commercial, obviously is amazing too. All those Amex.
All of them.
But I just want to go back to an era of you had to walk around town to get all your shit done.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to the photo place to get my photos from vacation, and then I'm going over to the dry cleaner, and then I'm going over to the baker because I got to get a loaf of bread, and then the butcher. Let's just do that again.
And then, oh shit, I have to get a candle made.
Right.
And then where's my fucking candlestick maker?
I watched a woman walk with a disposable camera in her hand to a Duane Reade Walgreens at the desk that says photo center above this and say, "Do you guys develop this?" And the guy behind the counter goes, "No."
Right. He's like, you don't have
The
like a
fuck are
USB
you
drive for me
talking
or
about?
whatever.
Right.
That's so fucking crazy.
That's so depressing.
And she was just like, "That's what I assumed, thought it was worth a shot."
Man,
And just walks
She
out.
didn't even make a fuss.
not
She's like,
angry.
yeah.
She's like, I had to take the shot.
young people don't know about getting doubles.
Oh,
Dude.
hey, in my opinion,
Make
triples
sure-
is best.
You got 3? Triples
Like
is best.
it was such a routine in my
Yep.
life that my mom was like, "Oh, we gotta go to." It was in Britain. The chain's called Snappy Snaps. We gotta go to Snappy Snaps.
Mhm.
And you can go there, and they'll be like, "Yeah, here are your photos. See you later."
Yes.
What
You
a
gotta go
boring,
twice.
Like,
You gotta
yeah.
go twice. You gotta drop off and pick up.
Yes. Look, what the hell? And now we just look at these all day. But holding on my telephone.
He just pulled his tits out.
You're looking at these beautiful tits of mine all day.
We're all just holding these.
Yeah,
Can't keep your eyes on
The Sims B cups.
with his double jointed, he's able to go around the back of his head and grab his tits in like a Janet Jackson level kind of poster.
It's like the stranger, except his hands
I
aren't
will
numb.
never forget when I was about 11 years old doing this as I've been doing all my life, and the kid sitting next to me, Nikki, I believe his name was, going, "The fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "People can't do what
Yeah.
you're doing."
I've been
When I
sitting
just saw
across
it,
from
it was
you.
like unsettling. It was
Yes.
like watching when actors
Everyone
film.
can do this,
Yeah.
and no one can do this.
Ugh.
This is what's crazy, though. I've been sitting across from you for 10 years. Until this moment, I never considered, oh, you're doing it a weird way. I watch you do that
I can move
over
from,
and over
I,
again.
to be clear for the listener, I'm realizing we should describe this. I put my arms behind my back with my arms behind my head,
Mhm.
and I can move them to essentially below my shoulders.
Yeah, and your elbows drop down like behind you.
And as
Right.
Gabrus said,
I
it
can
looks like
basically,
little
and
wings.
both of these are positions people can do, but they can't move between them. They would
Yeah,
need to
it's a seamless
unclasp
to
their
reset,
hands
yeah.
and like
Yes.
redo their, you know what I
It's
mean?
one smooth movement. Hey, Gabrus, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, actually, several things if
Yeah,
that's cool.
please.
Of course,
Please.
for movie fans, I got the Action Boys podcast,
That's in the
actionboys.biz.
Yeah.
Free.actionboys.biz, so you don't have to pay for Patreons. You just get a sniff and see if you get hooked.
Oh, I love sniffing.
The
Just tickle the
aforementioned
balls.
aforementioned ode to engineers of Gino Lombardo. I did a 30-episode series of the Gino, a 3 10-episode series, and I put it all on physical media that you could buy as a USB that looks like a cassette. That,
Oh, so you ended up
I
doing
found it
this.
out. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
Hosley helped me, sent me down a direction. But I got to shout out Brett Morris and Josh Richmond, the two guys who helped me produce it.
Kings.
Josh kind of was the impetus. He goes, "Hey, if this tariff shit hits, getting these things from China is going to cost you a fortune.
it now.
Order them
Yep.
now."
Yeah.
So I was not prepared, but now I got
Hey,
the product.
Come get them.
I come get him at
I gotta get one.
gino.gabrus.com.
Gino, my all-time favorite CBB character.
Oh, thank you. He's one of my favorite things to do ever, and he's 5% different than the real me. And finally, this episode's coming out late enough that I can announce Adam Pally and I are swinging the camera in the other direction, or flipping the coin, and we are hosting a wellness podcast called Staying Alive, and it's about us interviewing wellness experts and other comedians and what they do to stay alive.
And it's
to be
directed
healthy.
by Sylvester Stallone.
Yes, that's what I really like.
He's got a hold on the
Speaking of
title.
Travolta, yeah.
Hey, can we win this time, Pally?
You're
My
the
daughter,
best.
Sistine's got a podcast. You got to listen.
I'm glad this timed out well. We've
This
been
is so
looking
awesome.
for a while to find a good episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we didn't this time. But
No, I think we did.
schedule-wise, this worked out
I
great
think
for
we
everyone.
did.
Movie-wise,
So there was kind of a, hey, you want to do European Vacation? You were like, sure, I've seen
Yeah.
European
Yeah.
Vacation.
Just, I'm a big fan of the vacation.
I'm a Christmas Vacation freak. And then, weirdly enough, like the first time I really hooked up with my now wife was during the movie Loser.
Okay, go off.
Well, wait a second.
Yeah, we were in college. We were friends for a long time.
You were a loser?
Yeah, I was a bit of a loser.
Okay.
We were friends for a really long time. Then we both were single. One night, we have this night where we watch Almost Famous, and it's a beautiful fucking
Yeah.
evening. We are next to each other on her bed, and we're like just trying not to touch each other.
Philip
like
Seymour Hoffman on the phone. You're getting emotional.
Yeah, it's so, and we're loving this movie, and the movie's so rich. We do not hook up.
Sure.
We just kind
The
of like
mood's not right.
it's this powerful moment, and the next night we
something
put on,
unspoken happens.
Yes, and the next night we put on Loser and hook up like fucking crazy.
You
But
see
it's like,
Biggs and you're like, let's go.
and we in hindsight we were like, should we retcon this that we just tell the story is only Almost Famous, because that's a beautiful, touching thing. But no, of course we fucking
Loser.
fuck to Loser.
Wow. Wow.
God bless.
So Heckerling's been a big part of my life.
Huge.
And also Alicia Silverstone saying Calvin Klein in Clueless gave me like a teenage erection that has yet to go away.
Hey, we'll get to
Says
both
who?
of those things.
Calvin Klein.
I mean, yes, formative crush.
We'll get to
Formative
both
queen.
of those, and we'll get to Mr. Potty. But next week, first, we must interrogate who is talking.
We must look upon.
We must look upon
he who speaks.
Yes.
This is back when Bruce was doing consensual movie roles. It's going to be fun.
Boy, poor Bruce.
Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Tune in next week for Look Who's Talking. And as always, I'm so sorry. We have had Lindsey Buckingham here in the studio waiting to do a segment
There you go.
talking about the creation of Holiday Road, and we just don't have time. Sims had a heart out. Our
Aw.
apologies to Lindsey Buckingham.
What's up with that?
I don't know. We-
Ooh-wee.
Blank Check with Griffin and David is hosted by Griffin Newman and David Sims. Our executive producer is me, Ben Hosley. Our creative producer is Marie Barty Salinas. And our associate producer is AJ McKeon. This show is mixed and edited by AJ McKeon and Alan Smithy. Research by JJ Birch. Our theme song is by Lane Montgomery and the Great American Novel, with additional music by Alex Mitchell. Artwork by Joe Bowen, Ollie Moss, and Pat Reynolds. Our production assistant is Minnick. Special thanks to David Cho, Jordan Fish, and Nate Patterson for their production help. Head over to blankcheckpod.com for links to all of the real nerdy shit. Join our Patreon, Blank Check Special Features, for exclusive franchise commentaries and bonus episodes. Follow us on social at Blank Check Pod. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Checkbook, on Substack. This podcast is created and produced by Blank Check Productions.